can't hear you.
Hey, I want to thank you guys for coming out.
Don't say we didn't warn you.
Times have changed. You got to do something.
The change has been slowly coming.
I can't knock on another door again.
But now, with a whole new model,
We have to disarm the prospect.
the sales game will never be the same.
We're humanizing the sales process.
One man is rewriting the rules
Tomorrow is the day where you guys get to the next level.
and taking it to another level.
And the next level, and the next level.
The 7th level.
You just feel how natural it is. You feel how open you become to your prospects, and in response, they usually become more open to you.
Founded by Jeremy Miner, 7th level is the only friction-free sales system guaranteed to raise revenue.
In my life, it's been revolutionary.
And his followers are feeling the difference.
His training has transformed everything.
It is precise and it really draws out emotions.
The sales world has already transformed. We need to catch up with it.
People around the world are starting to catch on.
We're going to tie in the new model of selling to your product or service that you sell.
These tools can work for anyone in any industry at any time.
It's not getting people to buy your product, it's letting them convince themselves to purchase what you're offering.
This new model is taking the industry by storm.
With this training, I will literally never be without money again.
And it's time to get on board before the ship sets sail. It's 7th level with Jeremy Miner.
All right. Welcome in, everybody, to day 2 of the Crush Your Commissions Challenge. Let me know you're here. Let me know you can see me and hear me in the chat box below. We just got a small little taste of the Jeremy juice in that little video. Who's keen? Today is all about objections. I do want to say, though, guys, how good was day 1? Who here was on day 1? Give me a hashtag day 1. Yesterday, we learned what NEPQ really is. Neuro-emotional persuasion questions. Now, if you thought day 1 was good, you guys just got a little appetizer yesterday. Wait till you see what's in store today. I remember doing one of these nearly 3 years ago, and today was the day that I learned a framework on how to get my prospects to overcome their own objections. You guys are in for a bit of a treat. So if you're committed, you're going to be here for the entire 2 hours today. We don't stop. We keep going, and we even spend an extra hour at the end for our VIP members. Give us a hashtag committed in the chat. If you're not committed, you're probably in the wrong room. Another shout out as well to our VIP members. You guys rock. Who was here yesterday from VIP? Give me a hashtag VIP. You guys, fortunately for you, you got to stay back yesterday for another hour and listen to Jeremy answer your questions. It was awesome. I want to give a special shout out actually to someone, because I was in the VIP room, which was awesome because you could get your questions answered. One of the VIP members, Asim Khan, posted in the Q&A chat yesterday in the VIP room that he used our email template we gave him yesterday. He sent it out to 18 people. He had 9 replies and 6 sales. Not bad for a couple of hours of attendance, don't you say? Imagine what that would do for you. Now, for those that are asking, because I got to say it, my support team was hounding me before this, saying everyone's messaging through. Where's the VIP link? How do I join VIP? Guys, I said yesterday we were shutting VIP at midnight last night. Now, because there was so many of you flooding the messages and the Facebook, we're going to do something for you, fortunately for you. Last chance. We're going to be opening up the VIP members only experience for 1 hour, 60 more minutes. The countdown timer starts right now. If you go to nepqvip.com, this is your last chance. We've just reopened it, nepqvip.com, $47. You're going to be able to attend the Q&A session today that Jeremy's running at 8:30 p.m. EST. You're going to get the replay to yesterday in your NEPQ VIP portal. You're also going to get invited to a special day 6 objection handling masterclass. So today you're going to learn how to overcome objections. And then from there, you're going to be able to bring that to day 6 and get questions answered and actually go 10 levels deeper. So if you want to be part of the VIP experience, nepqvip.com, 60 minutes. Don't you dare ask us for more time. I'm giving you word of warning now. 60-minute countdown timer, and then the VIP experience will be finished. As part of the experience as well, you're going to get access to all the replays, because at the end of these 5 days, all of the replays are going to be poof, deleted. All right. So nepqvip.com, last chance. Now, please check your spam folder. Everybody, check your spam folder, check your junk folder. We also had people saying, where are my logins? Where's the link? You were sent the link via email for the Q&A session with Jeremy. We're also going to be SMSing you the link 15 minutes before the session. Check your spam, junk folder, everything there, because the session will be in there and the replays will be in your portal. Now, well done to everybody for the homework. Who did their homework yesterday? Put a 1 in the chat if you did the day 1 homework. Remember, you've got to be committed. You've got to stay here and you've got to be committed and do what you need to do differently than you've done in the past to get better results. The ones that are sitting on the bench, the ones that are sitting on the sideline, as you guys know, you're not going to get the full experience and you're not going to learn as much as the ones that are taking action. I personally stayed up till, I think it was like 12:34 a.m. Aussie time. And I was watching hundreds of your videos and posts in the group. I couldn't keep up with it. So me, Matt, and Jeremy, we had to divide it all up. Now, I hope you all realize as well, because I was listening to some of your stories, we understand what you're going through right now. I was once where you are. Jeremy was once where you're at, and so was Matt. So I really appreciate those that got outside their comfort zone. They went live in the group. They commented on their biggest takeaways. We're going to do the exact same thing at the end of today. Now, I'm going to announce the prize for day 1. Remember, to be eligible for the day 1 prize, you must be in our Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group, guys. salesrevolution.pro. So make sure you go into the Facebook group to be eligible for the prize. So what was the prize for day 1? What are we giving you? Fortunately for you, you're going to get the advanced calling your lead script. Who here cold calls, by the way? Or who here calls outbound leads, or who sets their own appointments? Let me know in the chat below. Just a few of you. So the price for day 1, we're going to give you the exact word for word how to call those leads to stop triggering resistance, because some of you are right now. Most of you are. We're also going to be giving you a brand new iPhone, because how are you possibly going to call your leads if you don't have a communication device, right? So let's announce the winner. I watched a video of someone by the name of Debbie Halbrook. Congratulations, you're the winner for day 1. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing with us how you're using the old model and you were starting to lose passion for sales. But then you realized after yesterday's training that you didn't have the right skills. So thank you for getting outside your comfort zone. I know you're here today. The team will be reaching out to you. Please make sure you check your email, Debbie, as well. The team will be hitting you up on Facebook and DM. So that's enough of me. I'm just the boring guy. It's time to bring out the man of the hour. Who is ready for day 2? Who is ready to learn how to get your prospects to overcome their own objections? Guys, I can't stress how important today is. I used to sell to alpha personalities. I'm talking dentists and people in the medical space that had, dare I say, massive egos. Sorry for all you dentists out there, but let's be real. There are people out there in certain professionals that have alpha personalities and big egos. Now, with that comes a lot of objections if you're not using the right approach. This day, I remember 3 years ago, like I said, gave me a framework, instantly helped me overcome their own objections and just drop their guard. So stay tuned. Who's ready to bring out the man himself with our co-host, Matt Ryder? Let me know in the chat, because Jeremy's not coming out. Welcome, everybody, to Matt and Jeremy for day 2.
Here.
Over to you guys.
Oh, hey, Ryder. Shake and bake.
All right.
Say one more time. Shake and bake. All right.
We're here.
Now, hey, how are you, man?
Well, you know, I'm just over here being the boring guy. You over there being boring as well?
I mean, the cool guy, man. Why you be boring? What's going on? I'm just, are you being cool over there? Hey, we got some tech problems. We got some tech problems. I cannot see Matt. Can somebody come in the office? I want to be able to see Matt as well, so I can, you know.
And I couldn't imagine not being able to see me. As Kanye once said, my greatest regret is never being able to see myself live.
It could be true.
All right, guys. It's been
about yesterday.
Ugh, man, we dropped some fire. We're spitting hot fire like Dylon yesterday.
I think so.
All righty. Let me know in the chat what you guys got yesterday. What was your number one gold nugget? You guys, we were in the Facebook group. We had like 45,000 notifications or whatever it was. Put in the chat, what was your number one takeaway? Tonality, ABD, always be disarming, baby. Gonna put that on a t-shirt. Tonality, sweet JJ, sweet Jeremy Juice. That's fair enough.
Oh, baby.
Budget versus funding. That was a big one that could be helpful for you. Tonality, sales has changed. Intention. I love it. Tonality. Yeah. Well, this tonality, guys, like, why is that important to you now, though?
I like it. Let's talk about some unreasonable results.
Oh, yes. I mean, you know, one of the great things about, I guess, getting to do these challenges is that, like, we get to kind of, you know, help people make that journey from like where they are in their sales career or where they are in their personal development and help them kind of get to the next level. But what a lot of people don't realize is that in order to get those kind of results that people think are like just unreasonable, like Jeremy, like what you did in sales, a lot of people would say is unreasonable. What Elon Musk has done, a lot of people say is unreasonable. And the thing is, like, is what they've done to get there reasonable? Yeah. Right? Is working as hard, is reading, was it 5 books how many books a week do you read or whatever it is?
Well, I only do 5 books a month times 12 months a year times the last 23 years. But, you know, I listen to half of those while I'm driving around the car. So type in the chat what you guys listen to when you're driving in your car. What do you listen to? Do you listen to, are you a Taylor Swift fan? AC/DC? Are you into politics? You're listening to Fox News or CNN and going for your person, or are you just like a sports nut, which I love sports, but like, what are you listening to the car? And then take a look at what you listen and then tell me in the chat, tell me, Matt, how much money do you make every month from listening to that stuff in your car?
That could be trouble for you.
Oh, bagels.
Big bagels. Is what you're doing, are you working reasonably or are you working unreasonably? Are you doing everything you need to do to put yourself in a position to achieve your goal? Is your goal important enough for you to do that?
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes to get unreasonable results, we have to do unreasonable or maybe even uncharacteristic things. You know, if you, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and then expecting a different outcome?
Yeah, it'd be like if you guys keep selling exactly the way you always have, what result will you be at? The same where you're at right now, right?
Exactly.
Craziness. All right, good. Yeah, crazy. It's all about that. And hey,
a lot of people though, they've been asking us that because they're, you know, wanting to get outside of their comfort zone, be consistent, congruent. You guys are here, you're sales professionals, right? There are no tourists here. Are there any tourists here? Right? You guys know what a tourist is? Someone who's here for 2 or 3 years and then leaves, right? Which is 95% of salespeople, right? And so it's like, but this is okay too. Hashtag sales pro. If you're someone who's a sales professional, wants to be consistent, congruent, someone who's going to stay and take sales as a real profession.
Yeah.
Right. If you're that kind of person, then put sales pro in the chat. Right. But these people.
I want to say something, Matt, with you. Interesting thing. What profession in the world says, oh, I'm an engineer and never went to school for it or were educated on it? Oh, I'm a doctor and never went to school or education for it. Oh, I'm a nurse or I'm an accountant or I'm a teacher. Salespeople, like, oh, I'm in sales. Oh, how many years did you go to sales school? Oh, 0.
You know what they say? How'd you fall into that?
Yeah. Now, type in the chat, hashtag sales school, if you want to be educated to become a sales professional so you can sell a lot more than you are now. That's what we're going to talk about. That. Remember yesterday we gave a little hors d'oeuvres. Today we're going into the drinks. Tomorrow we're getting to the full course meal. Let's keep going.
Exactly. Right? And sort of speaking of sales school, you guys have been inundating us, right? With like, how do we get the NPQ training? It's like, time out, calm down. Don't worry. We have a special exclusive group only. Okay. Zoom attendees only. Special pricing for our new enhanced NEPQ 2.0 training portals. That's only going to be available for you guys. Okay. We're going to be going through that, you know, a little bit later down the challenge. Okay. And don't worry. I know we'll put Matt and Jeremy and Morty in 3.0 and Advanced Inner Circle. We're fine. Right. We have something special for you. Reach out to the people who got you into NEPQ, your advisor, right? And they can help you out.
Yeah. Now here's what I want to do real quick. Then we're going to jump into the training here. Type in the chat how much money you feel you need to make every month? This is all individual to you guys. Everybody's different on here. Type in the chat. How much money do you feel like you really need to make every month? So look at your financial situation. Like, I need to make this.
20K, 10K, 16K, 15K,
Somebody said
45,
1.5
30.
million. Like the okay, 1.5 million. Like,
You got a big house.
you got a big house. Here, I want you to look at the number you just typed in.
Mm.
And I want you to type in the number you really want to make. Not just the surface. Type in the number you really want to make every month. Now, I want you to look at that number that you just typed in. And how are you going to get there if you just ask the same questions you've always asked? How are you going to get there if you just use the same tonality you've always used? How are you going to get there if you try to overcome objections the way you always have? What is it going to take for you to actually accomplish what you really want? And are you committed to actually doing it or just saying it? Because those are two different things, right, Ryder? Saying and doing, right? So what's it going to take? Well, I mean, Matt, what did it take you to go? You were making like 20 grand a month of commissions when you were a client a long time ago, 4 years ago. Then you 100 grand a month. That's like top 1% with the 1% of 1%. What did it take you? What commitment in the training?
So I had to, I decided that I was going to fully commit to this learning journey of understanding this sales system. And I even had a conversation with my wife about it. I go, hey, I'm going to be a little bit less involved just for a little while. We had a chat about it. Here's the pros, here's the cons, here's the benefits. And I studied and I studied and I studied and I became obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Right. I became someone who was, I tried to involve myself in sales, and I didn't want to just have it, be how I communicated in sales. I started to use NEPQ as the way in which I communicated.
Yeah.
Right. When I was in an Uber, when I was talking to friends and family, when I was talking to staff, like I use it because it's an effective method of communication.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
And so I just tried to make it become who I was.
And that's what we're going to start to show you today. So here's where we're going to go. I should remind you what we're going to go over, what we went over yesterday in day one. Leah, let's pull up the slide. So we introduced the sales structure to you. Okay. We gave you several examples of how to use NEPQ to prevent objections the right way. I'm also going to show you how to handle. So today we're going to show you examples of how to prevent objections. And then we're going to, that's called objection prevention. And then we're going to give you several examples of how to help the prospect overcome their own objections. Okay. And more importantly, this is the sales structure. I mean, this not I get to do. It's already helping tens of thousands of clients all over the world, 161 different industries, including yours watching us right now. Okay. So what we went over yesterday, Leah, let's pull up those slides. Number one, we went over becoming a problem finder and problem solver, not a product pusher. So if you missed that, go back, watch the replay. Number two, we went over asking the right questions at the right time. We paid a little bit more attention to the tonality, which we're going to do a lot of that today with objection handling. How do we get them to let their guard down? And number three, if you're on, how do you eliminate sales resistance? How do you get the prospect to let their guard down so they become open to you, so they go below the surface? Okay. Now, here's what we're going to cover today. Day two. Three-step formula to get your prospects to overcome their own objections. You might want to write this down. Now, first of all, here's one thing I want you just to can I help you understand what's going on in your prospect's brain? Okay. Objections are not what causes an objection in a human being's mind. Is it the prospect? Or is it maybe something you're doing or saying or not asking or how you're using your tone that's triggering the prospect to have uncertainty in their mind? Because objections only happen because of uncertainty. So when you do get an objection, you don't want to what? You don't want to be like most salespeople and react to the objection. Okay, so what you don't want to do is go back into objection handling mode, like selling mode, and try to persuade them with facts and features and try to pressure them, because you already know what? That you have to play the numbers game when you do that, right? So if you've done your work correctly, if you've taken them deep in the conversation using NPQ, which we gave you a little hors d'oeuvre of that yesterday. I will tell you, according to what our clients say in your space, most objections, they're just gone. They're prevented. Okay. That's called, write this down, objection prevention. Objection prevention. See, top 1% earning salespeople, we don't necessarily focus on objection handling. We focus more on what? Preventing the objection from happening in the prospect's mind. Now, type in me if you would rather learn how to prevent the objection from happening in their mind, so you reduce your objections. Now, that doesn't mean you're never going to get an objection. Okay, folks, even when I was at the height of my sales career, making almost $3 million a year in commissions as a W-2 rep, like a lot of you, I would still get objections, but I probably got about 70% less than everybody else. Okay. So when you start to learn what we're going to show you, you can quite literally take the objections you're getting now and cut that in half. So if you get an objection at this stage, here's how to do it. Look at it as a concern. And you got to put yourself in the prospect's shoes and understand that they're trying to determine if your solution, what you're offering, it's really only a promise of a better future, right? For them to get that future, they have to make the commitment and pay you something. And then you have to deliver what you've promised. Remember, what's the biggest fear in human beings? Change. So we have to help them overcome that fear of change. Now, when a prospect brings up an objection, how do you usually react? Leah, let's pull up that slide. Who in here gets this objection? Your price is too high, or we don't need it, or I'm not interested, or, this sounds good, but I need some time to think it over. Type in me if you get one of these objections. Hey, can you leave me some information and I'll get back to you if we're interested? We don't have the budget for it. Is this a scam? I can't afford it. I saw some negative reviews about your company online. I need to get more quotes. I need to do more research. I need to talk with my spouse. I need to talk with my partners, my boss, my board. Can you call me back in a week, a month, a year later? Now, when you hear the objection, what goes off in your mind? Somebody tell here's what you do. You go into objection handling mode like a robot, right? Because you've heard this before from other prospects. So you get impatient. You've heard the same objection from all these prospects. And what do? Type in guilty if you're guilty of this. You cut them off sometimes in the middle of the objection. Type in guilty if you cut them off. Yeah, but right when they're saying the objection, and then you try to prove them wrong. Okay. You might even use like, I know how you feel. Other people originally felt the same way, but what they found was, now that type of overcoming objections, Phil felt found, which has been around since the dinosaur age of sales. You want to throw that out the door because it's gotten you to where? The level you're at and nothing more. Okay. So now's not the time to try to persuade them on why you're right. In fact, it's exhausting. We want to clarify what's behind the concern and validate what they're saying and feeling, and sometimes even ask them to expand on why they feel that way. It's almost like a psychologist where they just dump, right? And you're going to notice once you do this, like Ryder knows, that your prospect starts to trust you more. They start to open up. Okay. They don't hide the real concern. And can you imagine if each prospect you talk to that gave you an objection, you help them go below the surface and find out really what's behind it, what was driving the objection, and then you knew how to help them overcome it themselves. How many more sales do you feel you could make on a weekly basis if you had that skill set? That's like a superpower, right? Everybody's like, what sales superpower do you want? What I would say is what? How to prevent the objection from happening in their mind. You're like the Mr. Invisible, right? Like nobody knows where you're at. So me and Ryder are going to give you some powerful NPQ questions today. And I want you to pay attention to our tone. Now, here's what I would suggest. Matt, how do we help them like move the screen over where they can see our tonality and body language, not just the whole slide?
Exactly, guys. All right. Can everyone hear me? I've been getting too loud, apparently, but I've been told that my whole life. So
I hear you good now. You're good.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So what you're going to do, guys, remember when Jeremy brings up the slide, okay, is you can swipe over on your phone, or, right, you just take the little toggle. Okay. If you're on your desktop, you just move it over. Or if you're on a tablet, or you can turn your phone sideways, right? And then you'll be able to see half Jeremy and half the actual slides, right? And you can screenshot them. You can do what it is you need to do, okay, in order to make sure that you get this stuff so that you don't have to.
You don't have to.
It could be trouble for you.
It's really important with anything. If you can see my facial expressions and you can hear my tone, if you have me expanded, you just pick up more than people who have me in a little box to the side with the big screen. Now, let's talk about, we're going to talk about objection prevention first. Okay. This is the first thing we're going to focus on, because when you get an objection, okay, if you try to hide the objection or sweep it underneath the rug, it's still where? Well, it's still in their mind. Okay. And when you try to close the sale, it triggers what? Even more objections, because they feel like you're ignoring their concern. So if we hear certain things in the conversation, now each of you in your industries, when you hear certain like red flags, like words they say, like, is this going to cost any money? That might be a red flag. Or just if for your industry, there's all different red flags. Okay. Or if you see things in their body language or their tone that are a little bit off. Remember, we're going to talk a lot today and tomorrow about listening to what they mean, not just what they say. But if you see that sign that you know that there's going to be an objection down the road, we want to then ask certain questions to seed in their mind to eliminate that objection from happening later. Okay. So I'll give you an example of this. I'm going to give you a couple of different examples. Let's say you're in B2B sales. We're saying this could be even B2C too. It doesn't really matter. And let's say in this example, you're selling and presenting in front of an office of decision makers. Let's say you're in a boardroom. Okay, I was in four completely different industries, two B2C, two B2B. One of those B2B careers I had, I was selling to Fortune 1000 companies. I was in a lot of boardrooms, 8, 10 decision makers, very hostile. You know, I was the fifth person in there that day, that vendor. But let's say you're in that boardroom with 10 people. You only know 2 of them. They're on your side. The other 8 are decision makers. And you start going through a presentation. And you notice that Gretchen, oh, Gretchen, we love you, Gretchen. You go through an objection, and she goes like this. You go through like one of the slides, and you see her at the end of the table, fold her arms, and look up on slide 36, kind of have a grimace on her face. So what do you think is going to happen if you finish that presentation, you bring up pricing, and you try to close that deal? Who's probably just going to go on a limb, going to have an objection at the end, or worse, when you leave, try to do what? Influence the other decision makers not to buy. Probably Gretchen. So rather than hoping and praying that she won't have the objection, I'm just praying Gretchen was okay, why don't we help prevent that from happening? So we have 2 choices, right? We can hope and pray everything's okay. Remember, we're going to take the hopium drug and hope the rest of the slides convince Gretchen and everyone wants to buy. Or should we find out what's behind her giving you that nonverbal message that she just told you through her body language? So here's what you might want to do. Our clients in your space, they know how to do this. You're going to ask what's called an NEPQ. This is a diffusing question. I must have got this right. I'm bad with slides. Hey, Gretchen. Hey, I noticed when I went over XYZ on that last slide, you seemed a bit hesitant. What's behind that? Now, what type of tone did I just use there? That's kind of a what? A curious, confused tone. Why would I have a concerned tone? But hear me again. Do you see the periods there in between the words? What does that mean? The periods are what? Those are verbal pauses. Because if I said it like this, hey, Gretchen, I noticed when I went over XYZ in that last slide, you seemed a bit hesitant. What's behind that? Oh, no, I'm good. See, most of the time, we can't help them overcome objections or get them to internalize because you ask the question too fast. They have no time to internalize. But let me slow it down. Hey, Gretchen. Yeah. Hey, I noticed when I went over XYZ on that last slide, you seemed a bit hesitant. What's behind that? Well, Jeremy, I just didn't understand what you meant by, and now there's a concern, and who's there to help overcome that? You are, right? Now, your tone, remember yesterday, your tone is how your prospect does what? Interprets the intention behind the question. So if she feels like I'm concerned and I'm curious, that triggers a different reaction than if I just have a straight monotone voice, right, Matt? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute game changer when you can use your tonality to entice a particular response from a prospect. Same as if I go, well, Jeremy, like, why is learning all this important to you now, though? And that pause and the now, though, the downward concerned, right? Or like a little bit like, and then from there, the pause indicates the now is what I want you to answer. So you're going to answer in terms of timeframes. But if I said, well, why is that important to you now, though? then you're going to answer in terms of that. So I can predict. Now, I don't know, but I don't know if it's, I don't even know if it's helpful for you guys. Would you guys like to be able to predict and influence how your prospects are actually answering? I mean, you don't have to.
You don't have to. I mean, you could wing it. Just throw some mud on the wall, hope something that sticks, right?
Exactly.
That's what we're going to teach you. All right, I'm going to give another example, Ryder, and we're going to come back to this. This is really good. Okay, so how many of you get this? Here's another thing. Okay, how many of you get this? Hey, the first couple minutes of a conversation, you start to ask some questions because you haven't learned tonality, and they're like, "Hey, can you enough with the questions? Can you just tell me how much it's going to cost? I'll tell if I'm interested." Or even worse, hey, enough with the questions. I know what you're trying to do. Just tell me the price, and I'll tell you if I'm interested. Type in me if you lose sales to this objection every week, every month, every quarter, every year. Are you guys willing to keep doing that when you don't have to? Who wants to learn? All right, so what do we want to do? Now, we got 3 choices. You got 3 choices you can do, because when they ask you that question early in the conversation, you can go one of 3 ways. Number 1, you can just tell them the cost. Oh, it's 50,000, or it's just 5,000. Oh, no, it's too much money. You can tell them the cost really quickly like that within 2 minutes without building any gap from where they are to where they want to be. So they don't feel any need, they don't feel any problems to change. And when that happens, most of the time you do what? They say it's too much money, right? Number 2, or worse, you can just sweep it underneath the rug. Oh, yeah, I'll I'll definitely show you some stuff. Now, let me ask you. And it's like you try to deflect it, like you ignore it. And then you type in guilty if you do that. You try to ignore the objection. Just sweep it underneath the rug, hope and pray they don't bring it up again before you build a gap. You could do that, and that's only gotten you to where? Here, right? Or number 3, you can answer it indirectly where it makes sense to the prospect why you don't give the price. Now, which one do you want to do? Which one do you think is going to make you more sales? Can I show you? Can I help you? Okay. Now, most of the time you only get that objection because of your tonality is triggering that. But first of all, you're just going to agree. Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll go through all that with you. I mean, it's really all going to depend on blank and blank and blank. And once we understand all those like details, I can go through all the different options we have for our clients. Would that help you if I did that for you? No one will ever say no. Okay. Now that's a generic example. Take a screenshot. I'm going to show you an industry specific example so you can see how it works. See how I agreed with them. See how I agree with them. Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll go through all that. And then it depends on blank, blank, and blank. And once you understand notice how all those different options, I can show you that. Now, why do I do that? Why do I agree with them? Because it lets their guard down. Okay. And now it makes sense to them why you're asking questions at the end. All right. So let's give you an example. Drum roll, everybody say, please give my industry.
Some of those more alpha type personalities, right? Because you're agreeing with them, you're telling them to do their thing. So I used to sell a lot of fitness, a lot of like trades and stuff like that. Works 99% of the time for that.
Yeah, it's easier. They're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's say that you are a financial advisor, or you could sell IULs. These are huge industries, retraining as well, Index Universal Life. You could be an insurance agent that does that, or a financial advisor. There's different wordings. We have all these tweaks in our virtual training platforms for our clients, even for your industry watching us. So, hey, can you just tell me, how much it's going to cost? Or
hey, Jeremy, can you just kind of tell me how much it's going to cost? I sort of know what you're doing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll go through all that with you. I mean, for you, it's really going to depend on like your age, like your annual, income, like they're going to, the assets they have to plug in, and obviously like when you're actually wanting to retire. And like, once we understand all those different details, like I can go through all the different options we have for our clients. Would that help you if I did that for you?
Yeah. What questions do you have?
Yeah. Every time.
Very difficult. It's very difficult to be unreasonable when someone's.
You can't. Like if I'm a financial advisor, hey, what's your fee? Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll show you all that for sure. It's really, and then go into it. Okay. Now we show you how to tweak all these. So notice how I'm answering it indirectly, where now it makes sense Why I don't know the price because I don't know all these things. And every prospect, like, yeah, sure. What questions do you have? Because now they're like, it makes sense why you're asking me questions, right? Or let's say if you sell, I'll give you another industry specific example. Let's say if you sell merchant cash advances or you sell loans, like for a lending company, you could sell small loans to funding to start businesses or make payroll or help them scale their companies. There's many different reasons. These are big industries we train in as well. So, hey, tell me the interest rate, Matt.
Okay, yeah. So can you tell me the interest rate? I just sort of like that's what I'm interested in.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll go through all that with you. I mean, they're going to want to know like the industry you're in, which I'll have to get those details from you, and then they're always going to want to know like what you guys are wanting to use the capital for, and then what your revenue was last year compared to what you're forecasting for this year. And once we understand all those different details, I can show you like all the different options we have for our clients. Would that help you more if I did that? It's
Yeah.
just hard. It's just like, no, it would not help me to understand all these things, right?
It also, I tell you where this really helps is the sneaky ones that sound like they're open goal laydown sales. They ask for the price early because they're very open and like rapport building people, not the alpha types, but the sneaky ones that give you the open goal. And what do you never do in sales? You never take the open goal. You do the process always.
Yeah, and Mark Williams, some guy at a car dealer did this to me once. I doubt they're a client. And tried your method. Well, I walked right out. Well, because they haven't learned the tonality. If I just like, yeah, I go through all that for sure. It really depends on your industry, what you want to use the capital for, what your revenue was last year. Once we understand that, I can go through all the like if you sound like a robot or scripted, it's not going to work. That's why we train you the tonality in our virtual training courses, not just what to say. Otherwise, you sound like a telemarketer, right?
Okay, I mean, like it's really all about, I guess, like what kind of variant of the car you want, and what any of those potential optional extras, like whether it be leather or a seventh row seat. And then from there, once we kind of work all that out, we can figure out what kind of interest rate we can get you. Like, would that help you out if we get all the details?
Yeah, and it's going to depend on your score and some other stuff. And once I understand all that, like I can show you the different options because there's not just one option. We got like many different options. Would that help you? Yeah, that would help. It's just the right tone, how you're coming across. Okay, that's good, right? I like that. We'll use that extra. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's say that you're in the fitness industry. This is a huge industry we train. You could be a personal trainer. You could be a gym owner. You could sell dieting or health supplements. And hey, can you just tell me how much the plan's going to cost? Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll go through all that for you for sure. I mean, it's really going to all depend on like your age. I know you just walked in the gym. Blood type, we always look at that and kind of what you weigh now, maybe compared to what you're trying to get the weight down to. And once we understand all those different options, I can go through all the different customized plans we have for clients. Would that help you if I did that? Curious tone. But it would not help me to go through. Now, notice why I say all the different options sounds what? Like there's all the different options. Does the prospect know how many options you have? Doubtful, right? All the different options sounds like there's a bunch of different opportunities. You just don't know which one would be good without knowing that. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? All right, these are examples, little examples of preventing objections. All right, let's keep rolling here. We're going to run out of time. Now, a word of advice for you. You might want to stay on here all the way to the 2 hours because I always save the 3 hardest objections that salespeople in every industry lose sales from for the last 30 minutes. Do you know why I do that? Because I love you and we want to see how committed you are. So there you go. We love you guys. All right, slide number 1, 3-step format. How do we get them to overcome their objections? First, we have to clarify, what does the objection even mean? What's behind the objection? Number 2, we discuss it like 2 people working together. And number 3, diffuse. How do we get them to overcome it? Okay, so let's take a closer look. I'm going to break down each one. You might want to write these things down. First, we have to understand what the objection actually is. What is the concern? What's behind the concern? And why do they have the concern? See, most salespeople just assume they know because you've heard it so many times and you never ask. And then usually what happens? Well, you guess wrong and then you lose the deal. You've heard the concern before from other prospects. You start rattling off a rebuttal your manager gave you. I mean, you can keep doing that, but it's just kept you where you're at right now. Okay. Stop the madness. There's a much easier way. Let's find out what's behind the concern so we know how to help them overcome it, right? So these are examples of what are called NEPQ clarifying questions. Write that down. Now, when I go over this with you, pay attention to my tonality and pay attention to my body language. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, all right, let's go to the next slide. There you go. All right. Hey, John, when you say blank, how did you mean by that? When you, too expensive? In what way? Or hold on, you're losing me. Could you go back a few pages for me on that? I wasn't understanding. Or can you unpack that for me? Can you unpack that for me? Okay, it's a good way. Or can you unwrap that for me? See what now? What type of tone am I using? A curious tone. Can you unwrap that for me? Okay, let's go to the next slide, Leah. Now, I'm going to show you a few with a playful tone, okay? Can you unwrap that for me? Now, let's say the prospect starts waffling. They just start, you ever been on a call and they just start talking about nothing that doesn't matter? Here's a good way to get them back. Well, hold on there, Amy. You're like on page 27 over here. I'm still back here on page 3. What did you mean when you said? Now, why would I use a playful tone there? Because what would it sound like if I did this? Hold on, you're on page 27 here. I'm still on page 3. Can you walk me back for a moment when you said, see, that's going to sound awkward. What, you're killing me here. You're on page like 27. I'm still back here on page 3. What did you mean when you said blank? Playful tone. Or can I ask where you got that information? Or how did you arrive at thinking that way? Or whoa, you're losing me here. How do you mean by blank? Now, some of you are like, oh, I sell B2B and I talk to Fortune 500 CEOs. They'll never go for that. Well, I mean, that's what I did too. I mean, almost $3 million a year in commissions. I'd be in person with a Fortune 500 CEO in their freaking office, which is like, crazy huge. And they start rambling like, whoa, you're losing me, George. What did you mean by raise status? What were you saying, Matt?
It's literally my job right now. That's what I do. I basically exclusively have conversations with people who are running very, very large companies. Fortune 20, I've got one next week. Right. And it doesn't matter because if this is their mentality when people say, oh, you could never get away with that. Yeah, you couldn't because you don't think you're as good as that person.
You haven't learned yet.
Exactly. And like if I'm talking to Jeff Bezos about Amazon fulfillment stuff, yes, he has a much higher level of status than I do. But if I'm talking to him about sales, I know more than he does.
That's called situational status. We started to teach you a little bit of that yesterday and show you more of that today. I love that.
And you taught me that specifically so that I could do some of the stuff that I'm doing now. And now I'm having fun, playful conversations with entire C-level staff, all of them.
And I love it.
Of like, few $100 million a year companies. And
they're human.
They're having a great time because it's fun.
Yeah.
And I wear that and I wear the shirt.
Yeah, I'll give you one that I used to use all the time, guys. I didn't even write this down. It just, Matt, you triggered something for me from like 10 years ago. Okay. Yeah. A lot of times I would go into boardrooms, type in B2B if you sell B2B. Like if you sell large enterprise B2B accounts, that was one of the 4 industries I sold in. And so a lot of times you go into these conference rooms, sometimes it's on Zoom, but especially before COVID conference rooms, and there's like hostile people. You're like the 5th person vendor today. So they just treat you like, crazy. And you have like one person that's on your side and everybody else is like against you trying to find fault. And I remember this one time, I don't know how it came up. They were all men, like alpha men, and I just walk in with selling debt relief services and they're like, hey, what do you got? Just, why should we go with you? Like, why are you different than anybody else? I'm like, you guys have been really bad girlfriends. You don't write anymore. You don't call. You don't even text me. We might have to break up. And I literally did that, like a playful tone and like, oh, and they all started like dying for like a minute. And after that, they're little puppy dogs. Like exactly. That account's closed in 30
attention, confidence.
Yes.
What are you doing? Well, guys, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble.
Who's in trouble here today? I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. What about you? You guys get in trouble? These little playful tones at the beginning lower resistance because you sound like a real human being, not like I'm so grateful I'm here today for the opportunity to present to you in our boardroom. And like you just sound like a walking, talking salesperson. You don't want to be a salesperson, right? Well, I used to do this. Whoa, you're losing me here. How do you mean by blank? Or can you tell me more about that? Or what do you mean by that exactly? Or let's say if the prospect does this. Go ahead, Matt.
Those are the interjections and deflections that work very, very well in any sales environment, but especially B2B, because B2B tends to, like, the tension is what kind of breaks salespeople. And so if you can break that tension and start to have a more human to human conversation, then it sort of breaks the veil of the board.
It's a pattern interrupt. They're pattern interrupts. And guys, when I sold in B2C, I was making a couple $1 million a year in commissions in the two industries I sold in B2C. So was Ryder when he was selling B2C as well. And it's the same pattern interrupts. I do the same thing on Zoom, in person. It's just a playful tone. Hey, how's it going, Jeremy? You know, just trying to be really cool. You know, like I need a better hairspray. What hairspray do you use? You know, just little things like that. Like, oh, just little things like that. It breaks them down. Now, okay, Leah, let's bring this up. We're gonna be on here for 17 hours today, Matthew. All right, let's bring that slide back up. Go back to the slide where it says concerned, Leah. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little technique here. Let's say your prospects give you an emotional word, and they say something like, "I've just got some concerns about what's in the contract." Okay. What actually, no, let's go back here. I'm going to do, no, let's stay right there. Stay right there. I'm confusing you, Leah. I've just got some concerns about what's in the contract. So what I would say is like, oh, what's behind that? Or concerns? Or what's behind that? Just so I understand. What's behind that? Now, hear my tone. If I like, what's behind that? That's going to sound, oh, what's behind that? It's just a pattern interrupt. They're like, oh, well, and they start to, or how do you mean by concerns? Or let's say the prospect says, I've just been so concerned about XYZ problem. What you can do is you can take one emotional word and just repeat it in a confused tone. Concerned? Did you see my facial expression? Concerned? Do it tonight with a relative, anybody. Anytime they give you, like, if they say, I'm frustrated, I'm concerned, I'm stressed, I'm annoyed, I feel pressure, tension, worried. Anytime they say an emotion word, just literally repeat the one emotion. Annoyed, concerned, frustrated, tension, worried, and watch what they do. They will literally dump and relive their pain. Now, what are the two biggest drivers, emotional drivers in a human being that causes them to want to change? It's pain or the fear of future pain. Okay. Now, these things are taught even like, I went to university for behavioral science and social dynamics and human psychology. These are where these things are taught. If you don't have the background there, just don't have the advantage. Give you an example here. Let's say if the prospect says, hey, this is just too expensive for a company. Well, what would I do? Most would just argue, well, it's not expensive because of this, but I don't know what that means. I'm like, oh, how do you mean by it too expensive? Or too expensive? And they're like, well, yeah. And then they start explaining, well, another company we're looking at is 10% cheaper for the same thing. See, now, do you see how that works? Like now I know what the prospect means when they say it's too expensive. It doesn't mean they don't have the money. For this prospect, it means they're talking with somebody else that's 10% cheaper. But you thought they didn't have the money, so you start arguing about money. When they have the money, they're just talking to somebody else, but you didn't clarify, oh, too expensive? Yeah, vendor we're meeting was 10% cheaper. See, in other situations, it could mean something completely different. It could mean they have no money at all for it. It could mean your quote's too high because once you add in repairs and maintenance costs, let's say if you sold machinery like farm equipment, we train companies that sell that, or let's say that they have to hire somebody to train them how to use the software if you're in SaaS and it takes them over what they've allocated for that. It could mean so many different things on your industry and every prospects. Can you see if I didn't clarify there, I wouldn't know what that meant. So I'm literally guessing what the objection is. And that's why you lose some, because you don't really know what the real objection is. Or type in me if you're with me on that. Are you with me on that? Type in me. Now, let me give you another example. Prospects say, hey, this proposal, it's too expensive for the company. Oh, in what way? Or how do you mean? Well, the most we could pay for this service is about $6,000 a month, but you're quoting me 10. Oh, how did you arrive at the monthly $6,000 a month? Well, that's what our CEO gave us to spend on this type of service because of cutbacks in the department from the recent merger. Well, see, now I know what's going on. I can see the picture. The meaning for this company, if I'm selling B2B, is that the CEO gave them a $6,000 a month budget because of cutbacks from a merger. Now that I have this knowledge, I can negotiate a different deal, maybe. I might change the service options from the original offer. Leah, go to the next slide. Or give them a different type of service that matches their budget. Okay. Now, even better than that.
Or you can just push them.
Matthew, like if you're one of our clients, you could do something much better than that. It's way easier rather than lowering your fees and hoping and praying they take it. Okay. I might ask them questions like this. Yeah, that could be trouble for you. Do you feel like the budget you've been given is sufficient to solve XYZ problem? Now, did you hear what type of tone did I use? Skeptical. Why? Skeptical seeds what in their mind, Matt?
Well, it seeds that there could be a concern, like maybe they should be rethinking.
Yeah, see, I'm seeding doubt in their mind just by changing my tone. Do you feel like the budget they've given you is going to be enough to actually solve XYZ?
And someone's saying, wouldn't you say funding? The answer is no, because they're actually talking specifically about their budget.
Yeah, if
so
they say
we're not inducing a budget objection, we already have one.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually did this probably 2 weeks ago. They came in with a $40,000 budget, and then
could be trouble.
Yeah, it was a lot of people, and then from there, throughout the discovery phase, we bumped up their budget because I said, "Do you feel like that's really sufficient to get the sales team to do from this to this to go from here to here?" That would be a 160 times return. Does that?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? And they went, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's a good point." So then I went to 250, and then they then bumped the budget up north of 400. So over the course of 2 calls, we ended up with a good, healthy amount of funding to get the required outcome.
And now we can give them a 10 times result because of the funding. So we now have funding to allocate to get them the result they want. See, it makes them think, okay? Or I could say, so is the cost the most important thing to your CEO or actually solving XYZ to get ABC? Did you see what I just said? So is the cost the most important thing to your CEO or actually training your reps how to get the prospects to let their guard down so you can scale to $10 million a month? See how I compare cost to end result and ask them which is more important. See what I just did? Created a gap in their mind. What does that question do? It gets them into what's called results-based thinking over price or cost-based thinking. Now, if I'm on the phone and said that, would I still do this? Yes, because my body language affects my what? Tonality. Do you see what we're doing here? Hey, Matt, should I tell them a little bitty story about one of our first clients? This is back to your clients. Fortune 100 client. Should I just tell a little bit that might help them a little bit?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's good. I mean, these guys, I don't know. I love you. This group seems like a really good group, but if you want to hear this story, you might want to type in a fire emoji. We like the fire here at 7th level. Type in a fire emoji if you want me to tell you something that might give you a little bit of background here. So our first B2B client as a company, we just go straight to the top, is a large search engine. Some people use it every day. It rhymes with Fugle. You might have heard it. The googly boogly. So we trained 3 of their divisions a long time ago, about 5 years ago. It's about 450 people in total. It was actually with me and my assistant, Beth. It was just being us 5 years ago. Crazy. We have like 150 some people on our staff now. So somebody referred me to them because they heard that, I was really good in sales. I was started this sales training company. And what was probably going on in their mind? The stupid kid, we're Google. We don't need any training. We do billions. What do we need to bring him in? So I remember going to their offices. It was like glass. Now, this is their offices here in Arizona. They have different locations all over, different divisions. They have like 1,000 different divisions. It's like 1,000 different companies in one. And when I went into their office, within about 15 to 20 minutes of getting into it, they started to realize from my questions and how I raised my status, situational status, I might know something about communication, that really they weren't doing any sales training at all. They were doing product training, educating their new reps how their services work, which was costing them millions a month in lost sales. They just didn't realize, right? And I said, so I'm not understanding. Like, walk me through. Like, if I came to work for you guys today, I'm a new rep, what would my sales training look like? That's an NEPQ situation question. And you know what they said? Still birds mind, like, oh, well, we have, we train them on our cloud services, how the AdWord account works and how to help people get leads. I'm like, oh, no. Oh yeah. I didn't mean like the product training. I meant like what they're saying, like, their tonality and like the questions they're asking, like to get their prospects to let their guard down and like emotionally open up. Like what training are they going through with that? And they're like, we don't have the crickets. It seeded doubt. They're like, oh, I didn't know that was even a thing. So basically they had none. They were educating their prospects about how the services and products work, winging it and hoping and praying they'd buy, playing the numbers game, but they have a big brand, right? And I remember after about 30 minutes, they're like, hey, I still remember, they're like, we're in. I'm like, yes. When they said, we're in, I remember feeling that. Then they said, but. Does anybody ever get that? We're in, but, and you're like, huh. Here's what they said. We're in, Jeremy. This is great. I can see how this is going to work, but we've already allocated our training budget for the year. It's already been used. We have to wait till next year budget rollout. And we have to wait. Now, this was in September. Okay. So when you sell B2B enterprise, this is a lot of times like companies have billions, but they have these allocated budgets. And once they go over it, it's done, right? Or so you think. So they wanted to start January 20th. It was the week after Labor Day in September. That's 5 months away. Now, type in the chat, what is the likelihood? What is the percentage chance that in 5 months, they're going to buy 5 months later? What's the percent? Everybody knows it's like 0.000.
I'll for sure call you back.
I'll for sure call you back. We're ready to do it. Now, how many of you heard of that? So I knew that I had to help them overcome that concern for them. Not me, because who has the problem? The prospect or you, the salesperson? The prospect, not me. I have the solution, right? You have the solution, right? So I knew that if I didn't help them overcome that, they were going to stay in the status quo. Nothing's going to change. They were going to lose millions of dollars a month for the next 5 months if I didn't train them how to stop that. And I started asking them a little bit more questions. There's a whole lot more to this. Okay, we don't have time. But I found out about 5-10 minutes later that they're also losing about 25 to 30% of their salespeople every quarter in those 3 divisions. Like literally, you're talking hundreds, lose 100 people every 3 months. Then they would have to spend money recruiting, onboarding, product training. And after about another 15 minutes of probing deeper, you can almost feel like the internal tension. They started to feel like, oh my gosh, we didn't even realize this was happening. Like I could see the pain. You ever seen pain in a person's body language and their tone, like the intention? And this is what I asked him. And at the end, I'm like, well, I'm okay if for the next 5 months, I've got a lot of stuff going on. But I mean, for you guys, like in reality, which is more risky for you guys? I mean, is it more risky for you to get the funding from a different department and we train your reps how to get the prospects to let their guard down and emotionally open up? And, you know, we only help you increase sales by, say, just 20% in the divisions? Or is it more risky for you guys to do nothing at all? And, you know, I think you'd mentioned, how much were you losing? Like you had it on your calculator, it was $1 million a month, right? And you keep losing the $1 million a month times, what is it, 5 months? I mean, it's not a lot of money, $5 million, but you lose some of your top salespeople. Like in reality, I mean, which is more risky? And you can see they're like, oh, I still remember the VP. She's like, let me make a call. And that was like, this was like 5 years ago. So they had the you know, the thing, the little conference phone, and she clicked a button and she asked like, hey, we need to get the wire directions, literally wire directions. And my assistant was like, I don't know them. I'm like, Beth, what's the wire directions? Hurry, get to them. Now it had to go through legal. I came back a few days later to ask questions. I kind of went over a plan of how we're going to train him, how to do all that stuff. But within 2 weeks of the second meeting, it went through legal. Now, if you sell B2B enterprise, you think what? You've always been told what? It's a 9-month sales cycle, 6-month, year and a half, right? Especially Fortune 100 or 500. There's no way.
Nope.
That company wired those funds 28 days later after 2 meetings. So for you that are in B2B, rather than asking us, Jeremy, you don't understand, my sales cycles are so long. Maybe you should ask us, Jeremy, Matt, I don't understand yet how to build enough urgency and enough pain to get the prospect to want to act now rather than pushing down the road. Can you train us how to do that, right? You see the difference in there. Type in a fire emoji if you want to acquire that type of skill so you have complete certainty in every single sales situation. And they paid 88 grand for 12 hours of classroom training. That was before we even have a virtual training platform for our clients that we have now. But the point here is, if I didn't know the questions to ask, if I had not learned the tone, I wouldn't have made the sale, but more importantly, the prospects' problems would have stayed the same. They would have kept losing money, millions every quarter, kept losing salespeople. And they knew, they're like, it is far more risky for us if we just keep letting this happen than pulling funds from a different department and the problem is gone. If I didn't know how to resolve that concern, I wouldn't be able to solve their problems. And that was up to who? Me to do. Just like if you're not able to help your prospects who have problems and or emotional needs overcome their concern, whose fault is that? It's yours, right? Have you considered that you're holding so many of your prospects back from solving their problems and getting what they want because you simply haven't, for some reason, been willing to learn an advanced sales ability than what you have yet, right? Now, Matt, can I ask everybody something on here?
I think you should.
Maybe. Okay.
Possibly.
How, I showed you guys this yesterday. How can we communicate to you that you're holding yourself back from what you could be without you getting upset with us? Now type in the comments. Can I ask you a very personal question without you getting angry at me? Type in yes if I can ask you a personal question. Type in yes. I don't have to ask you the personal question, okay? Why haven't you been willing to acquire like sales ability so you can make 2, 3, or 4 times the sales than what you are now? Like really, what's preventing you? What's preventing you? You see, we're not willing to do that for our potential customers, but the question is, are you willing to keep doing that for yours? Who wants to change all that? Who's like, I'm going to change all this now. Like, I'm not willing to accept not having the right skills. I'm not willing to accept to getting into a conversation and having uncertainty because I haven't put in the time to learn how to do this. I haven't gone to sales school because how are you going to help your family financially? Does your family deserve you making more sales? Type in family if your family deserves you acquiring skills to make more sales. Do the charities you want to give to, the church you go to, do they deserve you learning how to sell so you can make more of an income for your family? Does the company you represent that gives you a job, do they deserve you to have those skills? And most importantly, do your prospects who have problems and emotional needs that you can solve, do they deserve for you to actually learn the skills to communicate to them? Type in change in the comments if you want to change all this right now. Because Matt, what is the saying? I always say success is just a choice. Success is just a choice. Now, who wants to know the results we got those 3 divisions? In their own words, we got them a 244% increase in those divisions within 90 days. 200. According to them, because they went through the numbers 4 times because they didn't believe it, that was an extra 106, a little bit over 106 million in sales that next year in those 3 divisions. Was it worth 88,000 invested to make an additional 106 million in revenue? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, Matthew, you're ready to go. I'm a little bit behind schedule. I want to get some tactical skills. Oh, we're going to discuss now. So once we understand the concern, we want to discuss it to them like a friend, conversationally, right? So we don't want to go into presentation mode to try to prove them wrong. We want to be collaborative, all right? And then we're going to diffuse, and I'm going to show you different examples of this. So we're going to ask them how they see themselves resolving their own concerns. Okay, I'm dead serious. Now, we're not going to ask that question, but it's the tone. How are you going to overcome that, though? How are you going to overcome that so you can X, Y, Z, okay? Now, let's talk about the price concern. Matt, give us an example. You got on here right before the webinar, and you're like, hey, I was with this client, and he kept saying something, and I just kept asking him this question. Give us an example of that. I think everybody could hear this. This is good.
Yeah. So I was every now and then I had to get on the phones and test out the leads and make sure everything's good. And so I was selling this guy, and he was right. Rainer Circle was the right program for him, and he said, it's just too much money. And I just looked at him very calmly and said, why is that? And he went, well, because I don't have enough money. Why is that? Well, because I'm not making enough sales. Concern tone. Why is that? Well, because I haven't got the skills. Why is that? Because I haven't done the training. That could be trouble for you. How would you like to proceed? And he thought about it and realized the best thing for him was to figure out how
to make more sales.
How can I? Not I can't because.
Yeah.
How can I?
Yeah.
You know, and he's doing better for it.
Yeah. Do you make twice as many sales? See, the point is we're not telling them why they should do it. Simply what he did right there is just getting them to tell why they need to change their situation themselves, right? So type in me if you lose sales every week to the price concern. We don't have the money. What Matt did there, going to work really, really good in different industries. We're going to show you some different ways. If you're one of our clients, we show you all these different tweaks, right? Because it depends on your industry. But
NPQ is a communication method. There's different ways to do it depending on how much you know about it.
We teach you all this stuff, baby. How about this? Well, we really like the money. We just don't have the money. Can you call me back a week, a month, a year later? Now, here's the thing that you have to understand. It's not like the money does not exist. Would I be right? Unless you're selling a $10 million solution to somebody that's homeless, the money's already there. It's just what you're offering is not a priority to them on what they're already spending that same money on. Listen to me again. The money is already there, already exists. It's just a priority of where they're currently spending that same money on. And that's your job as a sales professional to help them to see that your solution is a much bigger priority to them than where they're currently spending that money. Type in yes if that makes sense to you, okay? Now, who wants to learn how to do this? Now, first thing I'm going to do here, we're going to give you a generic example. Make sure you take a picture of this, okay? I'm going to give you a generic framework so you can see what it looks like. Then I'm going to give you an industry-specific example. Like I said, I'm going to save the toughest 3 objections the last 30 minutes for those who are committed to learn. Yeah, we really like your product, but we just can't afford it. Yeah, that could be a problem for you guys for sure. Tell me, if you did have the funding, is this something that would work for you? Now, did you notice how I paused there? Why would I say, that could be trouble for you for sure? Why would I say it could be trouble for the prospect? Because it's not who has the problems? The prospect. I don't have the problems. I have the solution, so it's not my problem. That could be trouble for you. Tell me, if you did have the funds, is this something that would work for you? They'll always say yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, why do you feel like it is, though? See, that's a probing question. Tell me, if you did have the funding. Now, if you sell B2C, it's mainly funds. If you sell B2B, more funding, investment. Don't say budget. Budget is limited thinking. Funding is opportunity growth. See how I'm just relanguaging the word. Now, when they said, oh, yeah, I do for sure. Well, hold on. Why do you feel like it would, though? See how I'm like pushing them back. Well, we like it because of X and Y and Z. Leah, go to the next slide. X and Y and Z. Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that money might be an issue. Like, how do you feel like you can resolve that so you can find the funds so you can, and then you repeat back what they said they wanted. See, what we're going to do is we're going to tie in them getting the money, the funding, or the funds to what? The thing they said they wanted. If they can get the funding, they get what they want. If they can't get the funding, they don't get what they want. See how I'm tying that into the end result. Now, when you do this, you're going to notice, like if I'm in B2C, they'll be like, oh, they'll start thinking. It's like their mind. Like I can get a credit card, I can get a loan, I can refinance the house, maybe borrow from the 401k investments. If you're selling B2B, like we do, B2C and B2B, well, they start thinking like, oh, I can pull the budget from here. I can allocate it here. Like they'll start thinking once we build the gap. They come up with ways themselves. Now, if they still can't come up with ways, I can simply learn, oh, I'm not sure. I do. Well, what other avenues do you have to find funding so that you can? And I repeat back the second thing they said they wanted. Okay. Now I'm going to give you an industry specific example. Anybody want an industry specific example so you can see how this works? Okay. So we train, just so you know, we train 161 different industries, including yours on here. You wouldn't be on here from our ads or anything if we don't already train your industry. Now, how many industries are there in the world? According to Forbes, drum roll, there's 163. Now there's subsets of each of those. Okay. Like if you're in home improvement, that's one of the top biggest industries you train. You got decks, you've got doors, you've got windows, you've got carpeting, you got bathrooms, counters, tile, cabinets. I mean, remodels, could be siding. You got all that stuff. That's 15 industries in one. The only 2 industries we don't train, Matt, we looked it up. One of them was like salt mining or something.
Yeah, salt mining, very, very specific industry.
We can't find, we don't know. Now, there could be some clients in our lower stuff.
Some guys in mining, but not salt mining.
Not salt mining.
I'm trying though. I'm I'm out there, calling people on the back of salt packets as much as I can.
Anybody knows companies in salt mining, give us an introduction. There was one other, I think it was underwater basket weaving.
Underwater basket weaving. It's a really big industry these days.
It's a big industry.
They're very insular. There's a couple of really big influencers that kind of have
Could
a
be
lot.
trouble, yeah. All right, so let me show you a few examples. Let's say if you sold home security systems.
You want me to be the prospect? Or are you okay?
Nah, I'll just do it real quick. Yeah. So let's go to the next slide there, Leah. Okay. Yeah, home security. So, I mean, what other avenues do you have to find the funds to protect the family when you're out of town? Okay. Let's say if I sold fitness coaching. Well, what other avenues do you have to find funds to lose the 90 pounds so you're able to watch your grandkids grow up? If that's what they said, if they're like, I'm concerned I'm going to die early, I would plug that into asking them how they're going to overcome it rather than saying, well, what other avenues do you have to buy my product? Because that's just all you. I'm going to tie that back into what they said they wanted. Well, what other avenues do you have to find funds to lose the 90 pounds so you're able to walk your daughter down the aisle? If that's what they said they were concerned about. See, I'm plugging that in. Let's say if you sell real estate, huge, second largest industry in the world. Well, what other avenues do you have to find the funding for the rental so you're able to get a higher return? See, funding for the rental to get higher return. See, I'm tying that in. Let's say if you sold home improvement. Let's say if you sold windows. So what other avenues do you have to find the funds for XYZ windows so you're not forced to keep overpaying your utility bills? See, and it's solving a negative thing. They're overpaying utility bills because of the cold draft coming. See, I'm tying that in, funding to solve the problem. End result. Let's say if I was a real estate agent here selling a home. Well, what avenues do you have to find funding for the down payment so you're able to get your family into the safer neighborhood? See, down payment to get what they said they wanted. Let's say if I'm a marketing agency, huge industry we're trained as well. Well, what other avenues do you have to find the funding to get the higher quality leads so you're able to scale? I'm not selling leads. I'm selling the results of leads to scale, right? See what I'm doing there? Think about your industry. Let's say if you sold life insurance, top 5 industry in the world we train, tens of thousands. Well, what other avenues do you have to find the funds so you're able to protect sending the kids when you pass away? Protect sending the kids when you pass away. Let's say if you sold cybersecurity to big banks. Well, what other avenues do you have to find the funding to protect the digital enrollment from all the high fraud losses? See, that's what they want to solve. See what I'm doing? I'm doing that. Well, what other avenues do you have to find funding to protect your digital enrollment from the high fraud losses? Right? Throwing that in. All right. Now, I'm going to give you an industry specific example. Okay. Write down the structure. Okay. Let's say if you sell real estate training or education, you're in the education space. It's a big industry we train in as well. You sell real estate education sources to people to help them learn how to flip properties, wholesale them, hold them long-term, short-term. Big industry we train as well. Prospect says, hey, we really like this, but hey, Matt, why don't you be the prospect here? Let's just, go ahead.
Like we really like this, but we just don't have the money for this right now. Can you call me back in like 6 months and we'll kind of save up the funds?
Yeah, possibly. Go back for a second. You said you don't have the funds.
Yeah, like just like right now, the sort of money's tight. So
that could be a problem for you guys for sure. Tell me, if you did have the funding, is this something that would work for you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why do you feel like it is though? I mean, you sound motivated, but why?
Well, yeah, I mean, because of X and Y and Z, you know what I mean? So
yeah. And I can appreciate that money might be an issue from what you told me. Like, how do you think you can overcome that where you can find the funding so you can learn how to wholesale to get out of your job?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess we do have, there's credit cards.
Not even that. I mean, why would you use your credit cards though? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, because, obviously like the money's there. It's just, make sort of allocating the funding in the way.
Yeah. Well, what other avenues would you use besides credit cards though?
Oh, we've got savings.
Yeah. Well, what do you like? So are you thinking you put some funding from savings and some from credit cards, or what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, I could probably do it that way.
Well, a lot of our clients that come to us, because most of them don't have the funding, what they do, if it helps, is they put it on a credit card and they just start paying it off once we help them buy the first couple of properties. Like, would that help you if we build out a plan? Would that help you get out of your job, like you mentioned?
Yeah. I guess we could do it that
Something
way.
like this. See, we can go
It's
different
hard
ways.
not. It's the funny thing is like, and I can't wait for the keyboard warriors, right?
That
It's
wouldn't work.
really,
No, it wouldn't. I
it's
mean,
really difficult when you're being led down a conversation like that and being asked such reasonable questions, and then you got to give the context of the conversation. Like, it's so difficult to not answer the questions in the way that you want, which is why, like, when you hear someone who's really good at sales, that's why, what does everybody say about the top sales guy in the company? He gets the best leads.
Yeah, right.
Right. And it's because like they might listen to calls or use it as training, and it always sounds like laydowns. The problem is if you're not understanding what that person's doing to make it sound like they're a laydown, then like that's the reason why you're not as good as them.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you watch Steph Curry do free throws, it looks really easy.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, oh, you just sit there and throw it in. Like, how hard could it possibly be?
It's so easy for us here because Matt and I would, and our clients would have built such a big gap that they feel so much internal tension that we don't have to go through rebuttals. We just, well, why? Just little things like why. And they just like, well, I want to do it. See, we're collaborating, right, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, there's the timing of it, right? So when someone says, well, yeah, and very quickly, well, why though? Because there might be a yeah, but, right? You know what I mean? So you kind of want to stop the thought partway through. Sometimes you want to let them finish the thought. There's a lot of things to learn about some of this stuff, but when you sell someone correctly, they basically always sound like a laydown.
Mm-hmm. The greatest salespeople in the world, what we train you, the prospect doesn't even feel like you sold to them. Yeah. They feel like you're doing them a favor by letting them pay you and your company to solve their problems and get what they want. Type in me if you want to learn that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Who in here gets a prospect? You get them through the whole line, B2C. They're like, this sounds really good, but I just need some time to think it over. Type in me if you lose deals to this all the time. Now, yeah, Matt.
My favorite objection.
It's like have you ever heard the one, I need to check my finances?
Oh yeah. Raise your hand. Put a 1 in the chat right now if you know how much money you have. Just put a 1 in the chat. Do you know how much money you have? All right, cool. Yeah. So that's everyone. So nobody needs to check their finances.
When the prospect says that to you, it's just that they're trying to like not tell you what the real concern is, right? Because they obviously know their finances. So how do you disarm them where they open up and tell you what their real concern is? Because I want to think it over a real concern. Does the prospect sit there for 3 weeks and write it out? I'm thinking it over. I'm thinking it all over. I'm analyzing it. I'm in my the drafts here. I'm writing out nobody does that, right? Do you do that? No. You say that to try to get rid of the prospect on a nice note. Now remember,
to avoid conflict, and also like, I don't know if one of my favorite sayings is like, you get the objection that you give.
Tell us
right?
about. Yeah.
And well, I sort of on a really simple example, if you're never gonna, like, let's say you're a married man and you will never make a buying decision without asking your wife, right? Then if you get a spouse objection, there is no way that you can overcome that because you've already accepted that is a
reality,
the correct way of doing it. And so if you're someone who's always going away and thinking it over and, half in, half out, and not really sure what they're doing and needs to go away and think, like, I learned this in gyms because, like, I used to see people, they would come to me and they were really unhappy, in a lot of pain. They were very overweight, and they would say, oh, I need to think about it. I need to go away. And it's like, if they made any good decisions, if they had a good decision-making process, they wouldn't be in that decision. They wouldn't be in that position.
They'd be overweight.
And so then all they're going to do is go away and convince themselves that now is not the right time.
Yeah. Procrastinate. Right? You have to help them.
Exactly. Because that's what their default is. Right. And so, like, I learned this as well, like when I was in the military. So I was in special operations. Yeah. Right. A couple of my friends were in really, really good. A couple of my friends were in a couple of like horrific helicopter crashes. And one of my friends in particular was in a very bad crash in 2010. And he lost his ability to like kind of feel emotion. So he had no emotion.
His emotional side of his brain was damaged.
Exactly. And that had a bunch of side effects. But I guess the most interesting one, if I look at it from a very, kind of like outward view, is that he lost his ability to make decisions.
Yeah.
Because you have to feel something to then think something to then do something.
100%.
Right? And so when he lost his ability to make decisions, what he did is they had to write out everything for him. So they had to write out like, hey, put on your left shoe, then put on your right shoe. Okay. So, and every single thing was like that. And I think it became very, very interesting. And so, that emotional side of it is so important. A lot of time I need to think it over is because that emotional side hasn't been brought into the conversation.
You didn't bring it in. You stayed surface up, because what most reps would say is something like this. They'd be like, well, I'm confused. You said you like this. What do you need to think about? And that's like a logical based trap to try to trap them and admit them they want to change. And how many times does that work? 1 out of 10. So you have to play the numbers game. So remember, we have to get them to let their guard down so they feel comfortable enough to tell us what the real concern is. Is everybody with me on this? Leah, let's pull up the next slide. Let's go to the actual slide there. Can you pull that up, Leah? Okay, go to the next slide. Okay. All right, hey, we really like this, but we just need some time to think it over. So here's what you're going to do. Go to the next one, Leah. Okay, stay right there. Perfect. Hey, this sounds good. I need some time to think it over. Yeah, that's not a problem. What's your time frame on getting back to me in the next day or two, just to see if I'd be available for you? Now, let's stop here. Why on earth would I not try to overcome the objection right there? Why would I just agree with them and then say, what's your time frame on getting back to me in the next day or two, just to see if I'd be available for you? Why? Because I first have to do what? I have to disarm them. You guys I have to disarm them first, because it removes the sales pressure out of the conversation and causes them to let their guard down. Because if you're on Zoom or in person on their phone, they think you're leaving, right? And it also positions you as busy. When I say, what's your time frame on getting back to me to see if I'd be available, it raises your what? Your status. You've got lots of clients. You don't need them, right? Now, the prospect might come back and say, well, I guess I could call you back in a few days, and they waffle. You ever got that? I could call you back in a couple of weeks. You can't waffle. So here's what you're going to do. Well, possibly. Not sure if I'd be randomly available like that. What I can do, if it helps, if you have your calendar handy, I can have you pull up, I can pull up mine and have you book a specific time. That way you don't have to chase me down and vice versa. Would that help you? Raise status, right? Now I have a book time. So I have a plan B. I'm not going to try to do plan B, but they think I'm leaving. We have a booked appointment. Now, that is called an NEPQ calendar commitment. Okay, we show you how to do that in our training, tweak it for your industry. You've got the appointment. They think you're about to leave virtually, off the phone, off of Zoom. Then before you leave, you're going to say this. Let's go to the next slide. Now, hey, before I go, what were you wanting to go over in your mind, just so I know what questions you'll have when we talk tomorrow? Did you see what I just did there? Rather than saying, what do you need to think about? Hey, before I go, what were you wanting to go over in your mind, just so I know what questions you have when we talk tomorrow? Now, here's the thing. 9 out of 10 people will be like, well, I'm just concerned that it's going to be too much money, or I'm just not understanding this, or I'm not sure I can do this. And whatever they say, that's the real concern. Now, do I want to be there on Zoom, on the phone, in person, and know what the real concern is, or hope and pray they show up in a couple of days? Well, if you want to make a lot more than you are now, you want to help them. Now I know it's a money concern, and now I'm there to help them overcome it. What was it that you were wanting to go over in your mind, just so I know what questions you have when we talk tomorrow? Well, I'm just concerned it's going to be too much money. Oh, how do you mean too much? See, now I know the objection. I know what to do. All right. Man, am I boring everybody in here? I've got like 5 or 6 more objections to show everybody. All right. How about this one? Who gets in here? How do you overcome? Hey, I really like this, but can you send me some references? Can you send me some references? One of our training courses called the Top 50 Objection Obliteration course. This is actually number 5. Matt, when you first came to me, you used to get this all the time. You got to tell everybody what happened.
Oh yeah. When I used to sell like the consultancy services for like builders, this is the main thing that I got, because, and I think the real reason was because I wasn't very good at, I wasn't very good at like kind of understanding the problems of the prospect well enough. And so they thought that I was kind of presenting a relatively generic solution because it was never tied to what it is they wanted. Yeah. And then we worked on that really hard in the problem awareness phase. Yeah. Once I understood the problem awareness phase, this objection didn't become, I haven't received it in years. This is
I literally never got this in 4 industries, because I built such a big gap. They didn't need to talk to anybody.
Whenever anyone gives us this in training, I sort of point them in the direction of like how to handle it. but then I go like, just do these things and you won't get it, because this is one of the easier ones to prevent from even happening.
So easy, because if they ask for references, is you triggered uncertainty in their mind that what you're saying will actually get them the result you're promising. So they're asking for validation most of the time to try to get rid of you. All right. So the prospect says, hey, can you just send me some references from other clients you have? You're going to agree. Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, hey, just so I can send the right people to you, like what specifically would you like to discuss with them? Now, usually right here is where you find out what the concern is. Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, just so I can send the right people to you, what specifically were you wanting to discuss with them? Well, I want to know about, and that's when they start to tell you what the concern is. Do you see where I'm at? Like usually right here, they will tell you the concern, and now you're there to do what? Help them overcome the concern. And they don't even need references at that point. Well, I'm just not sure how it does this. And I wanted to ask them something. Well, in that case, and you resolve the concern. Now, if you still can't resolve it, because like 1 in a billion, you do this right, you're never going to have the concern. If you're one of our clients, we teach you to eliminate this, but I'm giving you a Band-Aid here. But then if I can't overcome it, I might say, yeah, that makes sense. Now, when do you plan on calling them, just so I can see if they're going to be available for you? Now, why would I want a time frame on when they're calling the references if I needed that? Leah, can you go back to the last slide? Why would I need the time frame? Because some of you give them references and then you do what? You call them back 5 days later and they say, oh, I haven't had time to call them. And then you're like, when are you going to call them? And you're chasing. You don't have a time frame. That makes sense. Now, when do you plan on calling them just to see if they're going to be available for you? Well, I'd probably call them tomorrow afternoon if that works. Well, before I can promise that, I can reach out to them to see if that would work for their schedule. Now, let's pretend for a moment that obviously the clients you talk to are going to say good things, right? About how we're able to solve, XYZ problem that you said you're having. At that point, what would you want the next step to be? Did you see what I did there? If you simply agree to send a prospect a reference without a commitment to know what the next step is after they've talked to the scheduled appointment, then what happens? You will probably never hear from them again, right? How many, Matt, we got to ask them, how many sales do they lose just because of that objection?
Well, I think what I'd love to know is actually, this would be really interesting. What's the average commission that everyone makes per sale? Like, what is that? It's always very, very different between kind of all industries. So like, write it in the chat. What do you guys make? Is it 500, 1,000, $100?
Yeah, what do you make?
Well played, sir. 20 grand. Yowza. There's a couple of people with some pretty phenomenal opportunities. Go on, type in the chat. How many commission do you make per sale?
Yeah.
Right? Now, now what we want to do is I want you to say, type in the chat, how many sales would you be making if you knew how to overcome a few of these more objections? Like if you're making
just those three, just those three.
Right? Money, think about it, send me references, right? So if you're making, like, how many sales calls do you have? How many do you get those objections? And if you knew how to overcome those, how many more do you think? Right? We don't know. We're not you.
Yeah. How much more would you make if you how much more would you make if you knew how to prevent those 3 objections from happening in the prospect's mind?
I mean, we can, you know what? If you give me a second, I can make a
poll. I want to see this. Now, I've got 4 more objections. I left the best for the people who are committed the last 30 minutes. Like we promised, we say something, we're going to do it. We do it for you.
All right. 2 seconds. All right. I'm going to launch a poll, guys. What I want you to know is, how much do you think you're losing each year not knowing how to overcome those? Right. So now we know what you make per sale. Right. So go through. Are you losing 5 deals, 10 deals? Whoa, yowza. All right. So we got, that's an awful lot of people. Okay. It's going up much faster than I can say, but we got $250,000 a year or more. It's 125 people. 150K or more is 60 people. 100K or more is 200, 190, 195, 196, 97, 98. So 200 people, right? And then 50 to 100K is 400 people, and 25 to 50K is another 400 people. So we've had 1,200, 1,300 people. Now, for those of you who are not doing it, for the about 1,500 who haven't done it, I would wonder why.
Why would you do it? Do you want to keep losing sales that you don't have to?
Maybe
I want to know who wants to change that. Who wants to change, or who wants to stay the same? Right? Okay, I got this objection for you. Who in here loses sales? You know, we really liked it, but we saw some negative reviews about your company online. Type in me if you get this and you've lost deals a lot, because every company has what? There's no company on planet Earth, unless they have one client, that does not have one negative Nancy at least for a negative review, right? That probably is not true for the most part. It could be if you sell something that's not good, right? Now, do you know what they mean by I saw some negative reviews about your company online? How many did they actually see? Do you ever ask? See, it can easily be reframed once you ask a few questions to help them answer it themselves. Matt, why don't you be the prospect here?
Okie dokie. Yeah, Jeremy, I just, we're doing some research over the weekend and we saw that your company had some bad reviews.
Bad reviews?
Yeah, well, we're kind of like looking into it. And we saw a couple people that, said some bad things about the company.
Could be trouble. Were these actual clients or just like some negative people online?
Well, I mean, I'm not 100% sure they were clients.
Well, hey, when you say you saw negative reviews, like how many specifically did you actually see?
I mean, like we saw a few, like it wasn't like a ton, but I maybe like 10, 15 or so we saw.
Oh, 10 or 15. Well, I mean, just so you're aware, we have over 5,000 clients now. So what is even the math? Do you have like the phone, the calculator?
Yeah.
Mom said I'm horrible at math. What's the math on that? So 5,000 clients, you said there was 10, 15 negative reviews. So what is that? What is that? The math there?
It's
Is that point zero?
Point,
Yeah. 0.02?
Yeah, 0.03% or point.
Okay, so that's like 1/5 of 1% that were, I guess, negative, while the other clients 99.9% were getting results. So if we have like a 99.8% results, I mean, realistically, what would that mean about our clients getting results?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing pretty good.
Well, I mean, I guess my grandma would tell me that. I mean, that's what our clients would say for sure. But can I make a suggestion to you?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, have you ever considered that no matter how great you do for clients, there's always going to be, you know what I mean? Like some people that just don't do what they're supposed to do. Who do they usually blame that on?
The company. Yeah, they blame the company. Like we've had clients do that too. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for clearing things up.
Yeah. Guys, this is literally the easiest thing for you to help prospects overcome. Now, if I'm a hardcore closer, pressure, is that going to work as well? No, because they don't trust me at all. But because I'm collaborative and I understand how to communicate them to get their guard down, they become very open. Now, who told Matt all that? Did I tell him that? Or did Matt tell himself that?
Everything you say is garbage. Everything the prospect says is the gospel.
Who overcame the objection? The prospect. You guys with me on that one? All right, who wants this one? Hey, I'm just too busy. Can you send me a quote? So you call him real quick. Hey, I'm really busy. I know I responded. Can you just send me like a proposal and I'll get back to you if I'm interested? Type in me if that's you. Type in me if that's you. Tell them to be quiet out there. I can hear all those guys out there. All right. Now you asked that during the call. Before they asked you during that call, you're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll send it over to you. And you emailed them a proposal. You didn't build any gap. How many of those people email you back? They're like, I love the proposal. Where do I send in the money? What's the percentage? Never. So let's not fall into that trap, right? So be the prospect real quick.
Yeah, I'm just really busy right now. Can you sort of send me a proposal and I'll get back to you if we're interested?
Yeah, for sure. What were you hoping to see in the proposal?
We're just trying to see if we have the budget for your program and for your product.
You might not even need us. It might make sense for on your side, like before I send out a proposal, like if I understood more about what you're using for XYZ, because like I said, you might not even need us. Like, for example, who do you guys use now for? Now, what did I just do there? Why on earth would Jeremy? Why would you say because you might not even need us? That's blasphemy, Jeremy. I got to be confident and say, of course you need us. How's that working out for you? They're like, oh, of course I do. Yeah, sure. Where do I pay? See, I have to do what? Disarm them. to let the guard down. Now, do we know we can help them? Yes. Does the prospect know we can help them in the first 1 minute before we have zero trust and credibility? No. So our first job is to get them to let their guard down, because if we can't, there's no sale. They start surface level with us, and then at the end, they throw out objections. You see where I'm at? Now, let's say that you're in a 2-call close or in B2B. You go through that process. You don't do a 1-call close. I'm going to go to the end, and I can say something like this. Let's go to the next slide, Leah. Now, hey, what I can do, Matt, is I can get to work on putting together the proposal that you asked me to put together. Now, let's assume for a minute that, Leah, can you go to the next slide so everybody can see that? Now, let's assume for a minute that you guys go through the proposal and you find that we're able to solve XYZ problem that you brought up. At that point, what do you want the next step to be? Okay, do we have some technical difficulties in there? Let's make sure that Leah's okay there in the back office. We'll make sure they can see that.
This is live. This is live TV, people.
Slides. I love it. Where's
Before you start spouting off, going all caps, telling people what to do, why don't you just chill out and let people do their thing, eh? Hey.
So what I can do is I could get to, I know the keyboard warriors, and they're in sales. I know they made more than 2 or 3 million a year in commissions, because they would obviously should be training this. I know they definitely outsold us, Matt, when we were in our sales career. They
actual warriors. Let's just take it easy.
Let's go to the next slide here so everybody can see that, Leah. Keep going. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's say right there. How about this one? Okay. How about this one? How many times do you get a prospect when you initially call them towards the first part of the call and they say, hey, can you just send me some information and I'll get back to you if I'm interested? Now, what would most salespeople do? What have you done when you heard that? Oh, sure. Yeah. What information? Okay, good. You get excited. You email them the information, and guess what happens? You never hear back from them. So I don't want you to fall in that trap. No free consulting. So here's what you're going to do. You're just going to agree with them. Oh, yeah, I can do that for you for sure. Now, just so I know, I can put together like the best details for you. What exactly are you looking for? Well, I'm looking to see how your XYZ product could do ABC. Okay, and who do you use now for that? And see, I'm right into the conversation. Leah, go to the next slide. I think we're having slow internet or something here. Oh, who do you use now for that? Matt, Matt, actually go back. Let's go back one slide, Leah. I want Matt to role play this with me. Matt, you be the prospect.
All right. Yeah, man, I'm just like really busy today. Can you send me some information by email, and I'll just kind of get back to you.
Oh, geez, you must have a lot of time on your hands. I'll be busier than you. I can do that for sure. I don't mind helping you. Now, hey, just so I can put together like the best details in the email, what are you looking to see in that email?
We're just looking to see, how, you guys can kind of X and Y and Z.
Who do you use now for XYZ?
We use, these guys.
Yeah, see, and then I'm right into my first situation questions. It's just a natural way, instead of just yes and send the information, to then getting them into an engagement, and the prospect, we start to build a gap. Now, let's say I take them through that engagement stage, and let's say I'm in more of a complex selling environment, so I'm not going to close on the first call. Let's say if you're in that industry, and I might go and say, okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so good call, Matt. That gives me a better understanding of what's going on over there. Now, what I can do, if it helps, is I can get together some of those details that you asked of how we saw X specifically and Z and Y specifically that you mentioned. I'll just show you kind of what we do for other clients in your space. Now, let's suppose that you and the firm, you go through the details that I send over, and let's just say it fits into what you guys are looking for. Like, what would be the next step in your mind at that point? And then you just get it, right? See, well, the next step we would do business. Now if they're like, well, the next step I'd have to talk to this person or that person. Now I know that there's a little bit of concerns that I have to deal with. You guys ready for that? All right. I'm going to give you 3 more real quick. How many of you get this objection? How many of you get this objection? I'm just going to try and do this myself. Type in me if you lose sales from, I'm just going to try and do this myself. Now, what is the issue when the prospect says that, Matt? If they knew how to do it themselves, they would have already solved the problem, right?
If you could have, you would have.
You would have, right? Everybody knows that they don't have a clue on how to do everything your solution does. Otherwise, would have already done it, right? So if they tried it alone, what are the consequences? Maybe lost money, lost time, frustration, stress. The problem stays the same. and nothing ever changes. So what you want to do in that type of scenario is usually more of a technical thing. You want to go over 3 or 4 very technical things that have to be done or time consuming that they would agree in their mind they have no idea how to do or have the time to do it. And once they say that to themselves, they realize that what? They can't solve the problems and get where they said they wanted without who? You and your solution. Do you want me to show you how to do this? Type in me if you want me to show you how to do this, all right? All right, so now this is a generic example I'm going to show here. I'll just do this myself. Hey, this is really good, but I think I'm just going to try and do this on my own and kind of see how it works. Well, yeah, I guess you could. I mean, could be trouble. I mean, do you feel like you know how to XYZ? No, I don't. I mean, what about, do you feel like you know how to ABC? No, not really. Do you feel like you know how to do Z and D and Z so that you can A, B, and C? Do you feel like you guys know how to do all of that? See, and I'll show you an industry specific example. But the point is I'm repeating back things I know there's no way they can do. And I ask them, do they feel they know how to do this? And when they start saying no, then it's very easy to help them uncover that. So I'm going to show you how to do this industry specific. Let's say that you sell consulting services, big industry we train as well. Or let's say you sell some type of training program. Okay. Let's say if you sell e-commerce training, type in me if you sell like high ticket training, real estate, dating, e-commerce, affiliates, whatever, right? Matt, why don't you be the prospect here? Let's role play.
For sure. Yeah, this is good, but I think I'm just going to try and, kind of do it on my own and just sort of see what happens.
Try?
Yeah. I mean, I'll give it a red hot go.
Could be true. I mean, do you, I don't mind supporting you. Do you feel like you know how to, like do research for like what the top selling products are that like are working in the market now, like not like a couple months ago?
Well, I mean, no.
Okay. Do you feel like you know how to determine like if, let's say you guessed the product and it worked out, do you feel like you know how to scale that product?
Like, I mean, not at the moment. No, that's why I was kind of reaching out for the course, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like you know how? Well, what is the saying? Every blind squirrel finds a nut eventually, right? Let's say you just guessed that, right? Do you feel like you know how to like? Did you go to like copywriting school? Like, do you know how to like write the ads so they convert?
No, not really. No.
What about the audiences though? Like, do you know how to pick the right ones for your Facebook ads so you can like scale the lookalike audiences?
Not yet. No. I mean, I'm trying to figure it out, I guess.
Yeah. So if you don't know how to do all that, how much money do you feel like you would lose every month trying to figure it all out without the expertise?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Well, if you really thought about it.
I mean, that question is always so good. Well, if you really thought about it.
I mean, you tell me. Like, it has no impact on me if you don't learn the skills. Like, who does it impact?
Me.
Yeah. I mean, in your mind, which is more expensive? Is it more expensive for you to get the funding together and put in the training so you have the skills day one and you're profitable, or is it like more risky for you to, just kind of hope and pray it works out? I mean, like in reality, which is more expensive at the end?
Yeah. You know what that brings me back. This is a little bit off kilter, but when you sold me into sales training,
if I had not done that, a lot of things would be different.
It was funny, right? Because I'd gone through a rough period before that, but I'd sort of picked myself out of it. And you pitched me 40,000 for one-on-one training.
I think
that's all we had. Yeah, that's all there was. And I was like, can I get a payment plan? Because I had 50,000 in the bank, and you literally did that exact thing to me. And you were like, well, what's more? and then I paid in full. Yeah, it was I sort of felt that again just then. I was like, I remember what that was like.
You remember the internal tension. You're like, oh, it's more risky if I stay at the same income in sales compared to I learn how to like quadruple, right? All right. So I love this. I got 2 more for everybody. How many of you call prospects, or even you meet them? You could knock on the door, or you could meet them in person, B2B or B2C. And they're like, Oh, hey, I totally forgot about it. I'm so busy. Can you call me back later? How many of you get this? Oh, I'm really too busy. Can you just call me back later? Now, what do? Oh, yeah. Okay. What time can I call you back? Oh, 9 p.m. on Saturday night? Okay, great. And then you wait till 9 p.m. You cancel all your plans because you got the prospect that's going to answer the phone. You call them back on their time, not your time. They don't answer. You text them, you leave a voicemail, and what happens? They never call back. Right? Type in me if you lose sales from this every single week. And then who gets this objection? Number 2, these are the last 2 we're going to cover. This sounds really good, but I just, we really need to pray about it. We pray about these things as a family. So let us pray about it and we'll call you back. And you're like, okay, great. Pray about it. Call me back. And what happens? I guess apparently God told them not to solve their problems and get what they wanted in life, right? Probably not. Okay. How many sales do you lose every month from those 2 objections? I want you to type how many sales you lose every month from just those 2. Oh, one said 0. I never lose any sales. Jeremy, I have nothing to learn. I am the magical king of sales. I close 100%. Now, okay. Now, here's what we're going to do. Before I show you guys how easy it is to help them overcome those 2 objections, let's remind them of the homework assignment we're going to have them do before tomorrow. And we're going to show you what we're going to have you actually learn tomorrow. We're going to show you that. Now, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I will tell you tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday are the 2 most important training days for you, as I'm going to give you all the goods. Yesterday was the appetizers, the warm-up. Today was the drinks, the little cocktail. Tomorrow's the meal. Type in me if you want to show up tomorrow to get the meal, because we're going to come a lot more than this. This is just a warm-up. See, I will tell you, Matt, you know this, and this is what our clients say. We're just going off what our clients say in your industry. What we just showed you in 2 days, that's like tiny compared to our clients, even in like NEPQ Foundations or NEPQ 3.0 or Advanced Center and Circle. Like, that's where we teach you like how to tailor NEPQ to what you sell and how to use the tone to get the prospects to open up. So remember what we covered: 3-step formula: clarify, discuss, diffuse. We went over, we don't have the money. I need to think it over. Can you send me references? I saw some negative reviews. Can you send me more information? Can you give me a proposal? I'm going to try and do this myself. And we're going to go over, just pray about it. And I'm too busy. Can you call me back later? Objection here in a minute. Now, what's the homework? Let's give them the homework real quick, and we're going to do those objections. What do they got to do?
All right, guys. So the homework, okay, is that you have to let us know in a video, right? How much money. Go live, because again, it's about being consistent, congruent, okay? Getting yourself out there outside of the comfort zone. Because what happens in the comfort zone? It's where ambition goes to die.
No bueno.
No bueno whatsoever. Okay. So I want you to tell us, with the objections that what we've gone over today, how much do you feel you're losing every single year, not knowing how to overcome those?
Just from the biggest objection, take your biggest objection and just go live and say like, hey, this is the objection I get. I'm struggling with, because we have clients in the Facebook group a lot of times that will help you, just so you know. That's 107 or 8,000 people in there. A lot of them in your industry, they're willing to help as well. If they're clients, they know what they're doing, right? So don't take advice from non-clients, but you know what I mean.
I've relaunched that post so you can remind yourself, but go live and go, man, had I have had these skills over the last 12 months, even just some of the things that we've taught you, little tiny hors d'oeuvres, little nibbles, right?
Who's not in the Facebook
How much
group?
have you lost?
Who's not in the Facebook group? Did you forget to join the free Facebook group? That's where we pin the replays. If you're not in there, you just don't get the replays. Can somebody on our team post the Facebook group link so they can join? It's a join for free link. Some people are saying they're not.
Salesrevolution.pro.
Salesrevolution.pro.
I don't know how to help. We're out here doing the thing. We're trying as hard as we can, right? Between you and me, guys, like what's
holding you back from getting the replays?
It's really holding you back.
I love that. Now, hey, here's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, for some of you, you're not going to do it. It's hard, right? Is it hard to admit that you might not know everything there is to know about selling, even if you're already doing good? Look, I was internationally ranked as one of the top, you just Google it. It's not me saying it. Internationally ranked as one of the top 50 highest paid salespeople in the world. Not me saying it. Ranking, Direct Selling Association. Okay. I was making almost $3 million a year in commissions. And guess what? I didn't know everything there was about sales and persuasion. I still don't. And we're like the third or fourth largest sales training company in the United States now. I'm always learning. Steph Curry, is he still practicing or is he done? He doesn't need to practice. Is LeBron still practicing? No, because if you want to stay on top, you got to keep learning, right? It's hard to go. I mean, let's be real. It's hard to go in front of other salespeople when we have this ego, like, I know everything there's to say. It's hard for us to go like, hey, I need some help. Like, I want to learn how to prevent this objection from happening. Like, I need to learn how to do this so I can help my family, because my family deserves me to sell more to make more money for them. Does your family deserve you to get much better at selling so you can bless their lives? Do they deserve that from you? Probably, right? Because what happens if we're not real with ourselves and we keep our ego up? What happens to our sales ability when we don't learn? Because we have a high ego. Well, we stay the same, right? Is that helping you and your family and your prospects with a high ego? So type in me in the comments if you're going to go live right after we get off here, after I show you these last two objections. If you're going to go live and say, hey, you know what? This, I do really well, guys. Like I do really well, but this objection I'm struggling with, I want to learn how to overcome it because I want to help my prospects. I tell you, it'll be a free experience. I did that in my sales career. I learned from anything I could. Even when I was making almost $3 million a year in commissions, I was still soaking up knowledge because I knew if I didn't, if I had a high ego, I'd be capped, right? So type in a fire emoji if you're going to go live inside the Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro, salesrevolution.pro, right after this, and tell everybody, here's, I'm doing good, but I need some help with this objection. I promise you it'll be free. Matt?
You know, so I used to be in the special operations community. I'm still in the community. A friend of mine, Rich, who is a commander of the Navy SEALs for 23 years.
I love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we actually just did a podcast that'll be released on the Closers or Losers podcast pretty soon. But it's funny, we were talking about exchanges that we have with all the different tier 1 SF units around the world.
Yeah.
And not a single time in my SF career, and these are some of the most, you know, there's a bit of ego getting around the SF community, right? Yeah. Myself included, right? Never once did I ever hear somebody say, I don't need to go over there because I know all the stuff. Yeah. Never once, because the consequences of not knowing in that world are not great. So it's very
doctors just stop learning. Like, I don't need to learn how to be a better surgeon.
Oh, Spooky Operator. What's up, bro? Was it 2008? I've used you guys a lot.
Yeah.
What's up, Spooky? Only one guy, Vince.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, like, you know, you gotta be willing to learn. You gotta be willing to, you know, because, you know, like sort of throw the rule book out sometimes and just go, okay, cool. Like, this is how it's being done. This is how it's being done better. And then take elements of it and sort of submit to the learning process. Because if someone's better than you at something, you know, even if it's not 100% for you, like that, you have an obligation to yourself to learn. Type in me in the chat if you feel like a person who has a skill level that maybe you don't have yet, that knows what they're doing, proven results, can teach you that same skill level, and you can get similar results. Type in me if you feel someone who has a very high skill level, let's say sales, train you. If you can take what they teach you and actually start getting better results. Type in me if you feel like you can learn from someone who might have made more than you as a salesperson so you can sell more. Can that person teach you how to get much better? Now, remember, tomorrow, we're going to be live on the Zoom link. Matt, let's remind them, and then we're going to go through these last two objections. These are my two favorite objections we're going to show you. So you got to be on the Zoom link. Does everybody know the Zoom link? Because in the Facebook group, we're going to go live in the Facebook group tomorrow only for the first 10 minutes. So if you're not to be
Zoom
3
link,
days saves. Guys, this is not Facebook family. This is like, for those of you on Facebook, we love you, but this is Zoom family. Tomorrow is a big one, guys. Really, really big. We're going to get super nitty gritty. So remember, tomorrow, Zoom only, we're going to go on Facebook Live for 10 minutes, and then I'm cutting it off.
Cut it off, baby.
Right? Okay. This is the same link as what we have today. Okay. We're going to be going over some training, some really, really tactical training. I want to make sure that you guys are here.
Far more tactical tomorrow than what we've done the 2 days. So plan on 2 hours, put it on your calendar. I will go straight 2 hours. If you're lucky, I might go 2 hours and 20 minutes. I've planned a little special thing there, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now, let's go over what we're going to cover on day 3, and then we're going to go over, I need to pray about objection, and hey, can you call me back later? I'm busy, objection, how to do it. Now, day 3, most important, because we're going to show you specific NEPQ questions for many, many different industries. You might get lucky and see some of yours. We're also going to show you, and hey, like Matt and I say, it's not your fault that you were trained this way, but it is your what? It is your problem. And nobody's going to come and what? Save you. So we're going to show you.
No cap.
We're going to show you certain words and questions that you're using right now that you might not be aware of that are triggering a lot of sales resistance, even though the prospect's not saying it, but it's causing them to emotionally shut down and stay service level with you. Now, how many of you, type in me, if you ask, you feel like good questions, but a lot of your prospects, when you ask them, they give you vague, generalized, surface level answers. Okay, now we're going to show you what words you are saying and your tone that is causing them to emotionally shut down and do that. So we're going to show you, better than that, what words to tweak, what words to change, and what questions to change that will actually trigger them to become curious and let their guard down and open up to emotionally to you. Who wants to learn that tomorrow? If you just learn that one thing tomorrow, you could Matt, what can they do? Just that one thing. Where does it take?
I mean, it makes you have such better conversations, right?
Makes
better conversations are the key to not only sales, but just in life in general. The better your quality of conversation, the better the quality of relationship, the better the outcome for the sales.
Because what's the biggest problem in sales? Somebody type in the chat, what's the biggest problem in sales? Type in the chat, what is the biggest problem in sales? Trust, rapport, confidence, communication, sales resistance, time management, not selling. I love all that, but you know what the biggest problem is? It's the problem that you don't know you have. Let me repeat that. The biggest problem in sales is the problem that you don't know you have. Would I be right? Because if you don't know what the problem is, you're just guessing. You don't know what to change. You're just guessing, hoping and praying something you're going to change his work without knowing the data. So what we're going to give you is a breakdown of each part of the NPQ sales process tomorrow. So you're going to walk away from tomorrow's training with a very firm understanding of the right sales structure to work, to use for what you sell. We're going to give you a lot of industry specific examples. So you walk away and you can start using it to sell more. That's what people say that go to these. We're going to talk about connection questions. Leah, can you pull up that slide? Here's NEPQ. Tomorrow, we're going to focus on connection questions. These are how you get the prospect to let their guard down, because within the first 7 to 12 seconds of any sales conversation you're in, just so you're aware, your prospects are picking up on social cues from you based on your verbal and nonverbal cues on your tonality and what you're saying that triggers their brain to react in one of two ways. If you come across too aggressive, too needy, too excited, attached, it triggers fight or flight mode. Not interested, don't need it, call me back later, tell me the price. That's a triggered reaction. So we're going to show you what connection questions to tweak for what you sell that actually cause the prospect to let their guard down, and it triggers curiosity to want to engage with you. That one thing, if you just learn that, you're just going to have easy conversations. Now, we're going to show you situation questions, very specific ones, okay? These help you and your prospect find out what their real situation is, because as you know, most people don't really understand what their real situation is when you first start talking to them, okay? We're going to move into problem awareness questions tomorrow. These are probably the most important questions that we're going to teach you tomorrow. What are their problems? And they're going to tell you their real problems because they feel comfortable to. You're going to help them find out the root cause of the problem. And most importantly, how the problems are affecting them even personally. Even if you sell to Fortune 100 CEOs, I'll show you how to do it if you're here tomorrow. If you just learn problem awareness questions, that alone could double what you're doing right now. I'm not joking. That's what our clients say in the training. Solution awareness questions, not only do we have to help them see what their problems are, but we have to get them to see what the future looks like once the newfound problems are actually solved. That's called future pacing. I'm going to show you a lot of those for industry specifics. And then we're going to show you how to rip that away, Matt, you love this, with consequence questions that get them to defend themselves on why they feel like they need to change and change now. Would that be good if your prospects told you and themselves why they feel like they have to change now because of the consequences if they don't do anything. See, that speeds up urgency. It'd be like, okay, it'd be like you telling Matt, let's say you're an individual salesperson and you get on a call with Matt and you're like, hey, I'm making $5 or $6 grand a month, but I really want to learn how to make 20,000 a month, or whatever you guys say. I mean, this is you guys, Matt might say, well, what happens if you don't learn the skills to make 20 grand a month? See, now you think of the consequences. Or I might say, well, how will you be able to make 20,000 a month if you don't learn the right questions and tonality to actually do that? Like, how would you be able to do that if you just keep selling the same way you are now? See, these are just easy consequences. We're going to show all different industries for you guys. If you're lucky, you might even see yours. We're going to show you how to transition into your presentation if you're in B2C. If you're in B2B, we're going to show you how to transition into whatever your next step of the sales process is. And then we're going to show you what are called commitment questions that get them to commit to take the next steps and purchase what you're offering. Type in me if you're going to be here tomorrow, because we're going to give you the meal tomorrow. This was just the little cocktails today. All right. Who's ready for the last two objection? Can we get a drum roll, Matt? I need to. Okay, who's ready? Okay, how many of you, let's go to that next slide, Lee. How many of you call an outbound lead? They're like, oh, I forgot about that. Hey, I'm really busy. Can you call me back later? Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, man, I just really forgot about that. Can you just, I'm just too busy right now.
What am I going to do? If I'm going to forgive you, yeah, not a problem. Hey, so what I can do, Matt, if it helps you, is I can give you my number and you just have to call me back a little bit later today to see if I'd be available. Would that help?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, here's my number. It's 573-555-655. Now, hey, what's your time frame on getting back to me later today, just to see if I'm even going to be in the office? Okay, let's stop. Let's just stop there. Okay. Now, what did I do there? It's just a disarming technique. And probably like, hey, can you call me back later? I'm just really busy. What am I going to do with you? Like, should I forgive you? I'm telling you, if you do that with a playful tone, they'll be like, oh, I know I'm busy. It's not a problem. But you guys are like, what you've been taught to do, like, oh, sure, when can I call you? Now, does that raise your status when you say, oh, yes, when can I call you, sir? When can I call you, ma'am? Does that raise your status in their mind where they view you as an expert? Or does it lower your status where they view you as a needy salesperson who's just agreeing to any time they say? Raise status or lower status? Well, you know it lowers your status. But if I'm like, what am I going to do with you, Matt? I'm going to have to forgive you over there. Well, here's what I can do, because I'm pretty busy. What I can do, if it helps you, is I can give you my number, and you just have to call me back later today to see if I'd be available for you. Now, what goes on in Matt's mind? Oh, you're just going to notice they're like, oh, like they're just like, it's a pattern interrupt. They're like, now, does that lower my status, or does that raise my status where he might view me as someone that's got a lot of clients that doesn't probably really need him? So you want what you can't have. Now, why would I say, now what's your time frame on getting back to me to see if I'm going to be in the office? Because now he tells me a time frame, and he tells who? A time frame, okay? You will get way more people to call you back. Now, don't worry. Not everybody's going to call you back. You'll get about half that will call you back and half that won't. So if they don't call you back, this is all you got to do. Now, go to this next slide. Oh, stay right there, actually, Leah. Go back. Now, sometimes let's do this, right? Oh, well, I can get back to you sometime later in the week. Have you ever got that one? Oh, I can just call you back in a couple weeks. Do you just sit there and say yes? That's not good for you. So what do you want to do? Well, yeah, possibly. I mean, it might be harder to randomly get a hold of me with like my schedule. What I can do, if it helps, is if you have your calendar handy, I can pull up mine and have you book a specific time with me. That way you don't have to chase me down and vice versa. Would that help you? That way you don't have to chase me down. What does that mean? Does that lower your status or raise my status that I might know something they might not know? It might be hard to randomly get a hold of me with my schedule. What I can do, if it helps, is I can give you, if you have your calendar, I can pull up mine and have you book a specific time. That way you don't have to chase me down and vice versa. Would that help? Yeah, that would help. That's a calendar commitment. We teach a lot of these different industries, all right? Now, let's say they don't call. They don't call. They're half the call. What are you going to do? Are you going to call right at 4 o'clock if they said they were going to call at 4? No. Because that would show you, just waiting by the phone. Call them right on time. You don't have any other clients. You're needy. you must not solve problems. You must not get results. So I'm not going to wait 20 minutes late. I'm going to wait 2 or 3 minutes after the top of the hour, pick up the phone. Hey, John. Hey, yeah, Jeremy, just getting back to you. I'm just a little bit behind schedule, and then go right back in. And we're going to teach you what connection questions to ask. Now, we train all that, like connection questions to ask right after that for outbound, inbound, cold calling, all that stuff, and all of our virtual training for our clients. See how that works? Give me a fire emoji if that just helped you. Give me a fire emoji if you can use that tomorrow. Now, what tone did I use? Was I boring? Was I timid? No, I was assertive, but I was neutral, unbiased. Now, type in me if you have prospects that say, we really like this, but I need to pray about it. Matt, did you ever get that one?
Yeah, I have actually.
Oh, this is the easiest one to do. Okay, now this is just like
Partner
the I'm gonna think it over objection or partner. See, this is just them saying that. Do we really believe that when you leave, they're going to sit around the bed and they're going to pray, should we solve our problems and get what we said we wanted? Does that even make sense? Why would God say, no, you should not solve your problems and not get the results you want? Like, what doesn't make any sense, right? So let's go to the next slide, Leah. Okay, Matt, you be the prospect. You be like a preacher.
It's a big decision for us. I just think we really need to pray about it.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. Let's see if we are available in the next couple of days. Now, hey, when you say pray about it, like what specific parts do you feel like you really need to pray about that we talked about? Stop there. I want to do that again. I'm going to do that role play again. Go back. You're just going to agree first. I'm going to break this down for, oh yeah, that's not a problem. See how I'm just agreeing. First, I'm going to agree. Oh yeah, that's not a problem for sure. Now, hey, when you say pray about it, like, I guess what specific parts we went over do you feel that you really need to pray about? Now, why would I emphasize that? Why wouldn't I say, now, when you say pray about it, what specific parts of what we went over do you feel you should really pray about it? Oh, I don't know. It's just a big decision for us. See how I emphasize the word feel? Why wouldn't I say think? Why wouldn't I say, do you think you should really pray about it? Why would I want to say feel rather than think? Because feel is emotion. If I say think, I take them from their emotional side of their brain to their logical side of the brain. Do you see that little shift there? What parts do you feel you should really pray about? Well, I feel like we need to pray about it because it's a lot of money and we're just not sure we have the budget for it. Now, what concern do I know I'm dealing with? Pray about it, or I don't feel confident I have the money. See, now I know it's a money concern. Okay. Now, let's say you go back, you help them overcome the money concern. You don't want to just ignore that they wanted to pray. So here's what you're going to do. You go back, you help them overcome the money concern, and then you're simply going to say this after that. Now, hey, coming back to that, how do you feel God would feel about you? And you repeat back what they said they want. How do you feel God would feel about you? And you repeat back what they said they wanted. Okay, now I'm going to show you this. You want me to show you an industry-specific example? Okay, Matt, let's give them like a life insurance example. We train tens of thousands in this space. It's one of the top 5 industries we train. All right, Leah, can you pull that up?
Training a few thousand next month.
I know. There we go. I did a keynote for Cooley, like 9,000 people nowadays, and they're all training portals. Well, I mean, how do you feel God would feel about, you having like the financial protection there for sending the kids when you pass away? They're completely taken care of without the stress like most people go through who don't have the right coverage. I mean, what do you feel he'd want you to do for your family? No, he wouldn't want me to financially protect. See, he can't do that. I'm asking them how he would feel, God would feel about, and I repeat back what he said he wanted. Is he going to say, no, God would not want me to have what I said I wanted? See, it doesn't make any sense, right? Well, how do you feel God would feel about you, having the mortgage paid and all the expenses paid off for Cindy when you pass away, so they don't have the stress like most people go through who don't have the right coverage? Like, what do you feel he would want you to do for your family? Now, if I tried to hard close, pressure, and I did this at the end, would this work as well? No, because I don't have any trust or credibility. But because I've opened up a gap from where they are to where they want to be, they trust me. Now, you can pray with them. You'll have some people that go with that, but other people, like a lot of people, when you say, I'll pray with you, they're like, no, 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 it's very private. And it's over. You are dead. You don't have to do that. If you do this, so much easier. You're never gonna have to find about it. Nope, I don't think God would want me to have what I want. Right? All right, let's go over the prizes. Well, actually, let's remind you of the homework one last time. And Matt, some people are asking how they get into the VIP session that me and you are doing in 15 minutes. How do they get into the VIP that Anthony? I don't even know.
It's
cut that
closed.
off. Was it closed? Oh, we closed, didn't we?
I have been known for being a rogue unit.
That could be trouble.
Type rogue in the chat if you want me just to go a wee bit rogue and open it up for another 20 minutes.
Would you want us to answer questions for you? VIP?
A wee bit rogue.
A wee bit rogue. I mean, we could.
I was going to yell at me.
Would everybody get mad at us if we let a few hundred more into the Q&A session and 18 minutes where they can ask us something? I don't know. I don't know. I love this group. You guys are a really good group. I love this group. But do they really want to sell more, or are they just saying they want to sell more?
That could be trouble. It even says the page is expired. All right, guys. You guys got to open it back up. Open it up.
I do.
Open it up.
Open it up. Oh,
open it up.
Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Belit, we got people that get angry at us. Don't yell.
Open it up. Open it up. Open it up.
Open it up. You tell customer service to open that up for these people.
Blake's running around in the background like a madman, right? We're going to open it up for a few minutes. Look at these guys. See, we weren't even lying. It's actually expired.
Open it up. VIP. You can join me and Matt for an hour Q&A session in 17 minutes. Me and Matt are going to be on a different Zoom link for all the VIP members. Is a romping $47 we made you guys pay, where we send all that free information for you. We get to answer your questions. You can learn from other people who have questions as well. Because, we're not going to be able to answer 7,000 questions in there, but we'll definitely answer a ton of questions that you will learn from. So are we is Belint going to let the link?
Yeah, I'm sure that they'll sort it out.
What are we going to do? Where's our customer service at?
We'll drop the link, right? We'll drop the link. It's going to close though. It's going to close when I shut this Zoom, right? $47.
Guys.
As Thanos would say, it's a small price for salvation. All right.
Now, if you guys need a GoFundMe page for the $47 so you can learn how to sell more, just let us know. The GoFundMe page so you can sell more. We just go out and live there.
Oh, it's back up. No.
Oh, no. Is it? Oh, no. Where's everybody at?
Turn off that redirect, young man.
I think everybody left us. They just left us. Customer service operations are just leaving us. All these people are going to get angry at us. It's not even our fault. We're trying to get them to let them be in the VIP.
Balake.
Where's Balake?
Balake. Open it up. The people want to know. The people want to know. All right. We'll get that open back up. All right. This is what happens when I'm given a microphone.
Could be trouble. Could be trouble. We're gonna
open it back up. But okay. All right, guys. So while they're opening it back up, all right, we'll go over. Remember, the homework for tomorrow, guys, is to go over
today. Right after they get off.
Sorry, right now. Technically, the homework was due 15 minutes ago.
That's right.
So make sure you tell us how much you lost over the last 12 months not having the skills that we taught you today. Okay? Right? And well done to the winner of today. Right? I think it's Steph, right? I think it is. I could be wrong. But remember, guys,
Debbie. It was Debbie.
Debbie, was it? Debbie. All right, cool. My bad.
Reach out to you, Debbie. No, we'll have customer service reach out to you.
It is. All right. While they hashtag open it up, write a hashtag open it up if you want Balake to open it up.
Open it up. Now, remember, you're going to go live. Your biggest objection that you're struggling with, just say, hey, I do really good with everything, but this one objection, and just like, hey, I want to learn this. So go live with the biggest objection. How many sales you feel like you're going to lose on it, and like you want to learn how to overcome it. So just go live. Just say, here's the one. Somebody help me, and we'll help you on that tomorrow as well when we go through the sales structure. 100%.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, tomorrow, same time, same bat time, same bat channel. Okay. And we're only going to be live in the Facebook group for 10 minutes. Okay. So just remember that we're not going to be on Facebook like we are all day long. Okay. Right. We're only going to be there for 10 minutes. And that's so that we can help you put yourselves in a container, right? In that container, we are going to force you guys to be here, be present, turn off your notifications. Okay. Turn off the socials, right? Come here and absorb, right? Drop the ego. Let's go for it. Let's absolutely figure out how to get better at sales.
Same time.
Bridge that gap that you guys saw today.
Same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Same time tomorrow. Same time the next day. Tomorrow, we're going to go through everything I just covered with you. Day 3 that I'm covering, all the sales structure, the words that you might not be aware of that you're using, and some different tones that's actually triggering your prospects to emotionally shut down. And that's why they give you vague, generalized, surface level answers. So you might want to be on tomorrow right at 6 p.m. Eastern. We will start right on time. And then Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Friday is a lovely day because that's where we hear clients use NEPQ on a sales call from a random industry that we'll pick tomorrow. And we let you guys listen to it all from start to finish. Who wants to see NEPQ in action in a random industry where you can hear the tonality, you can hear the questions, you can hear the concerns, you can hear how they overcome it. Literally, like, we're going to let you hear it for 2 hours, a couple different times. And then tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern, I will go all the way for 2 hours. If you're lucky, we might even go for another 20 minutes after, because tomorrow we're going to train a lot of tactical questions and the tonality. Today was the cocktails. Tomorrow is the actual meal, the 5-course meal, like the steak, everything.
Well, the next challenge is going to be called the Cocktails and Dreams Challenge.
Cocktails and Dreams Challenge. All right. I love that.
All right, guys, they are opening back up. I just got an email. I just got a message from the tech team. And amongst the abuse was, we are on it, right? I'm going to stay on. Okay. So I'll make sure the webinar doesn't close. I'll keep dropping that link. Okay. And I might even give you guys a little special Miami Nights 1984 outro, right? While we get that going. All right.
Perfect.
That's my call.
VIPs, me and Matt will see in about 12 minutes. 12 minutes, Matt.
12 minutes. All right.
Guys,
All right,
I'll see you in 12 minutes. If you're on VP, everybody else, I'll see tomorrow. Same Zoom link, 6 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern. I will go all the way 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes. You might want to plan that. I'm going to bring the heat tomorrow. Love you guys. You guys did great today. Hey, we're super proud of you guys. Me and Matt are very sarcastic, but we still love you. Okay, that's why we do these. All right, when we could be hanging out with our families right now. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. VIPs, I'll see you in 12 minutes.
All right, guys, I'm going to stay on. I'm just going to share my screen. And then from there, we can, I'll drop the link. So, they're working on fixing that redirect from the expire, but hope you guys had a phenomenal time, and see you guys on the next one.